Welcome to another new episode of the Triple Takeover Toycast, and we're back at it again after a little bit of a sabbatical on our end. And we had a bit of a break this time because we were at TFNation, which, if you're not familiar with it, is a UK Transformers convention, very popular.
That's definitely a thing that happened between now and
occurred,
last time.
Yes. Liam, you were there as well?
I was definitely there. I was definitely engaged.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's amazing. Big news.
So this actually happened to me when I was the other week when I was at Wembley watching wrestling. I knelt down to tie my shoelace and a lot of people stopped. And a guy came over and asked us if I was proposing to Emily.
Were you on the big screen?
No, yeah. It was like one of the staff came over and Emily was like, no, he just needs directions. I was just like, I'm just tying my shoelace. I didn't.
Wow, not awkward at all. Anyway, no, TFNation has happened. We are going to talk about it tonight. That's the whole purpose of this discussion, because we kind of wanted to do a bit of a roundup of the con itself. Like if you're from across the pond or anywhere else in the world and have never been to TFNation, maybe you're a bit curious about what happens there. Caution, it's normally very beer fueled, but we'll get to all of that. And there is then talk of the dealer room, such as it was. And I say such as it was amazing this year, wasn't it? And
it was definitely a thing, yeah.
It was quite something, quite spectacular.
Memorable.
Yeah, memorable.
It was memorable, yeah.
Certainly true. Saw a few things there that definitely didn't expect to see. And we're going to talk about that and the bits that, of course, we picked up for ourselves as well. So,
did you actually introduce us?
I didn't. I figured by now everybody probably knows, don't they?
I don't know. Who am I?
Well, you're the man that got engaged.
The man, the one person. I did not get engaged.
Man, yeah.
Definitely did not get engaged.
For completeness sakes, then.
Yeah.
You're M.A.S.K.
I'm still M.A.S.K.
Right, still M.A.S.K. Still M.A.S.K.
Yeah, still M.A.S.K.
Like a still M.A.S.K.
Still Maz's run deep.
As opposed to gassy M.A.S.K. Yeah.
Or perpetually moving about Maz.
Yeah, right. That was what I was going for, as opposed to whatever Maz was talking about.
You're still Maz.
I'm still Maz, yeah.
He's still Maz. Hey, still Maz, indeed.
This isn't making it in, is it? Like,
no, I don't know.
Just skip it now by this point. I just go straight to Patreon.
Liam?
What-ho? I'm still Liam too. I'm still here. I'm good.
Not engaged at all?
No, absolutely 100% not engaged.
And I am Sixo from Sixo. But more on that later.
I'm so glad to hear you say that for once. That's all I've ever got to say about you is like Sixo from the world and universe of Sixo Corp. But he's just said it himself for once.
Yeah.
I realised again last episode I didn't introduce myself. Just went
Did you not?
Straight into it. No.
Just blanked on that.
Yes.
I think people probably know. They probably know who we are by now. If they're committed to listening to the pod, then they've probably got a handle on that.
What if this is their first experience and they just want to hear about TFNation?
Then they'll figure it out.
He's always got a what if, hasn't he? He's always got a
he does.
What if.
He does. He's Mr. What If.
So accurate, that is actually so accurate.
It's like a Marvel thing. What if, Maz?
There are no heroes involved in my what ifs.
Well, what if we had a sponsor for the evening? And indeed we do. And that is tfsource.com. So do check them out for your Transformers and third-party needs. We'll do a bit of a longer segment on them in the middle of the pod. And we've also got a bit of a Patreon, don't we, Maz?
Yes, that's patreon.com/triple takeover, which gives you perks such as being able to listen to episodes early, getting weekly exclusive content in addition to our regular episodes. And these could be about IDW Comics, Unicron Trilogy, or lots of other 80s and 90s toy lines that only Liam collected. And you can also have a say in our content, whether that's voting in episode polls or commissioning minisodes. And if you come in at the highest level at GBC, that's Gold Box Classics, you also get a free piece of merch. So if you're at the point where you've listened to all our episodes, even possibly multiple times, or you've just experienced that long break where we didn't have any public episodes, you'll notice that the Patreon subscribers did actually have some content that went out in that time. If you want that to be you, then go to patreon.com/triple takeover.
Yeah, it was quite funny with the little break. It was the first sort of proper break that we've had since we started, I think. And we had more than a few messages from people saying, oh my God, I've listened to everything. What do I do now? And things like this.
And of course, people were able to keep in touch with us over that period, even during the break and during TFNation itself. And they organised meetups for TFNation on our Discord server, which is another perk of signing up.
Yeah, the old patrons. There were a few of them about, weren't there? So it was lovely to see so many happy faces.
It was fantastic meeting them all.
And of course, we had our panel as well on the Friday at TFNation. Well, pretty much the first thing we do at this show for the last 2 years has been go to Sixo's place, either practice or dream up the panel, and then drive over to TFNation on the Friday, and we check into the hotel, you say hello to a few people, wander around, get signed in, get your badges and everything else, just kind of start feeling the vibe, and then pretty much our first duty is to go and present the panel. And that's what we did last year on the Friday, and it was the same this year. And it's so funny how it feels like a completely different experience as soon as the panel is delivered and over.
It really does. It's quite, obviously it's quite cathartic to kind of get it out of the way. And I don't even think that's nerves or anything, because I'm never nervous about the panel. And we've talked about it, and you both know that, public speaking stuff is not something that really phases me. But it's still nice to have. Well, but you've had less practice, haven't you? So it's fair to say. But it's and I think it does come with practice that you just kind of get more confident with it. But it's still nice to get it done and out of the way. It's still this feeling of like, okay, cool. Now we can relax and enjoy ourselves.
Now the convention begins properly, and I can get battered.
Yeah. Although I had a couple of beers before the panel. I'm not going to lie, but still, I don't think it affected anything too much.
No, and it's always a really nice feeling to get the panel done and to get all the lovely buzz from the people who attend. And I'm so glad to see more people attended this year than last year.
Yeah, it's great.
And then you talk to people about the panel afterwards, and it's a natural conversation starter. It gives people an in to approach us and come and talk to us if they haven't had an opportunity to see us in the bar area or beforehand. Of course, sometimes people might be a little bit apprehensive to approach you if you're just checking in at the hotel or if you've just arrived. But then once you've been out there and you're in Transformers convention mode, I think people are a lot more willing to approach and say hello. And of course, the end of the panel is a great place to catch all three of us because, we're never together during the con weekend, the three of us.
Pretty much glued to each other's sides.
Jesus,
it was
it
was such a weird experience, Maz, on the Sunday. I hope you don't mind me saying this year, because obviously you had to leave a little bit early this year, and so
I hadn't noticed. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it did. I don't know why you don't remember that, but
nice of you to mention
Did
it.
we notice?
Yeah, that's
I certainly did.
Did anyone really notice I wasn't there?
Yeah,
that's right. I had to fly home on the Sunday, so that was a pretty gnarly Sunday. Waking up super early in the morning, checking out, grabbing a train down to London, which was awful, and then getting ready for a flight and flying out later that day, getting home around about midnight to Iceland, and then driving home from the airport after midnight. That was not something I care to repeat. And it was interesting to see how different the experience was only doing one main day of the con. So the Friday, I guess, it is still a main day of the con. We presented, there was a community aspect to it. But as far as the way I normally experience these weekends is Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, dealer room, hang out, lunch, dinner, stay up late, have drinks. Sunday, repeat. Go home late Sunday. But because I knew I had to leave early on Sunday, there was no staying up late on Saturday, and my mind was always on, in a way, I guess it just made me not immerse as much in the show. My mind was on going home, and my mind was on getting that sorted out the next day. And I felt like my time in the dealer room was very much more, I had to make the most of it. Like I absolutely had to make the most of it. And that's not particularly conducive to a relaxed, good time compared to previous years.
The Sunday's a really kind of crucial day for it, it's fair to say. And but it's a different dealer room experience as well, isn't it? Because it's much more kind of relaxed, and, you've got rid of all of that initial everybody rushing around trying to find everything they want on the Saturday feel.
It relaxes a bit, doesn't it?
It does. It chills off.
On the Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, it certainly does. But we'll get to all of that because there's a lot to say about this con. And Maz, it's interesting to hear you bringing up the stay at Casa Sixo first of all, because I got to tell you, actually, it's sort of become a really signature part of the weekend for me now, just in from the last couple of years.
But we're just assuming that we're always welcome. Like, I'm not even sure we asked this time. I think we just appeared and was like, hey, we bought our train tickets, see you there at whatever time we're arriving.
What time are you picking us up, dude?
Yeah, well, it was a bit like that, yeah. And which platform are you going to be on? And can you get over the
How do we get to that platform?
Yeah, right, exactly. But no, it was fun, and it's always fun to have you guys stay over and have dinner and stuff the night before. So, you're always welcome. And that my little boy loves to see you both as well. It was funny this year that he was super enthusiastic about having you both to stay, and kept talking to me about when are the boys coming over and all of this kind of stuff. So,
Well, just
The
as long as
boys.
Liam doesn't buy him another noisy toy next time
oh man,
that can be used as a 6 a.m. wake-up weapon, that would be great.
that was hilarious.
It's a cool toy, though.
It's
You
a
liked
very
it?
cool toy. Very cool toy. You were very kind to buy it for him. So, for the benefit of the listeners, this is very generous on both parts, actually, because Maz, you bought him a little transformer as well. And Maz, you got him a very cool Earthspark Bumblebee. And Liam, you got him. It's not a transformer, but it does transform. It's a motorbike that turns into a dinosaur. But the noise of
Velociraptor.
this thing, it's the noise of this thing. Okay, I've got it here, and just this thing, man. Listen to that.
Now it's my turn to roar.
I like his British accent.
What? Yeah. What accent would you expect?
Time for a burnout.
Listen, it's just ridiculous, but it keeps going.
PTSD. PTSD.
Yeah. The night before I ate it in the kitchen and I pressed the button on it, not realising, and then all through the night while I was playing on the PlayStation, before I came to yours, all I could hear was Velociraptors hunting packs. That kind of thing.
Exactly. But it makes a noise after a while as well. It's one of those things that you leave it, you think, okay, it's going to be quiet now, and then and it does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
all of a sudden, just goes, see ya. And you're
That's
like,
what I mean.
"Oh."
That's all I could hear every now and again was just this random voice from the kitchen. I was like, oh my god, it's a ghost. Oh no, it's Roboraptor.
Yeah, exactly, Roboraptor. I'm going to tentatively put it to one side and hope that it doesn't keep making noise. But this thing was hilarious because the boy was clearly very enamored with it as soon as he got his hands on it.
Good
and
taste.
Yeah, the funniest thing is then the next morning I wake up and I think it was about, I want to say it was about 6:30 or something in the morning, and
Felt
I
earlier.
heard. I think it was about 6:30, maybe 20 past. I heard this noise, this Roboraptor noise
believe that time.
in the bathroom next to mine and my wife's bedroom, just going off, going, "Rrr," like that. And I was like, oh God, he's awake. So then the next thing I hear is in the spare room next door where Maz was sleeping, it's going off in there. And I'm like, oh God, he's gone and woken Maz up. I better get up. And sure enough, you were in there trying to keep him entertained, Maz, I think, which was quite funny.
Well, I was trying to feign sleep first, but that didn't deter him, and he just came
Oh, no.
further into the room. I was like, all right, I can't give up.
Yeah, he's got no problem waking people up. We have tried to suggest to him before that it's not the most polite thing in the world. But then the best thing was, of course, is that, of course, we suggested that he had to go and show it to you, didn't we, Liam?
We did.
Yeah, he wasn't going to miss out.
Yeah, but I was lucky because I think I was half awake, so I didn't quite,
That's
get
not
the
how it
full
seemed at the
awakening.
time, I got to tell you.
Because
Because-
fine.
I watched your sudden reaction as this thing went off right next to your head, and I've never seen anybody wake up with such a start before.
Well, that's the time of morning as well. I don't think I've ever seen that time of the morning on the clock. I normally just see it as
Yeah.
when I'm going to bed, not getting up.
It was when you came in the kitchen and you were like, "Is that clock real? Is that right?" And it was like, "Yep, that's the time."
I'm glad he enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's been loving it, mate. So, well, thank you to both of you for that. It was really very generous.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having us around
Yeah,
again.
cheers, man.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. So, but anyway, then of course we made it to TFNation on the Friday, and the panel went pretty well, I think.
I was really pleased with it. I know you said you didn't have any nerves, and I didn't have any nerves until the moment we were standing by the side and they were about to introduce us, and I just thought,
Yeah.
oh God, this is really happening right now.
We're going on.
And I did feel a little bit the fact that we had decided to ad lib all of the pros of the choices we made. So for those who weren't there, we'd actually had decided that last year, because we'd done Room 101, and we
0101.
talked about things we didn't like that we wanted condemned to Room 0101. This year we decided to do a bit more a typical triple takeover thing, which is to actually talk about things we really like. And so we were trying to win specific categories or eras of Transformers with our particular choice, and we did it in the style of the Mortal Kombat character select screen with Mortal Kombat music too, which was ace.
We did, yeah, that was funny.
So
Yeah, thank you, TFNation staff, for
Yes.
acquiescing and
Yeah.
just bearing with us and getting that on.
and it was really fun, wasn't it? But I did feel a little bit of the, wow, we actually haven't scripted any of this.
Yeah.
And we're just going to do what we do in an episode, really. But it works out well enough. I think it's got a bit more of a natural feel to it that way.
Well, I think there's always been several things that we've said we wanted out of those panels, wasn't it? And one is that we wanted to kind of keep the vibe of the podcast alive, in a real setting. We didn't want it to be just a scripted, performative thing, but also that we didn't, in a weird way, then, which is probably a bit counterintuitive to what I've just said, but we don't also just want it to be a sort of insular conversation between the three of us, because that feels like that would be very dry for the audience. And so we've sort of hit both years on this way of trying to include the audience a little bit in what we're doing. And that was really what the whole notion of it was about, was that the audience got to choose which era of Transformers we were talking about any particular time. So Maz was saying to them, who wants to hear about Beast Wars?
Mm-hmm.
And then a big cheer would go up. Or who wants to hear about Masterpiece? And 2 people cheer.
That was weird, wasn't it? What a sea
weird.
change.
It was so weird. I couldn't believe it. I was really... I thought Masterpiece, more people would be into it, but nope.
I said the night before, I don't remember, we were like talking about which one we thought it was, and I was like, man, can you imagine if nobody picks Masterpiece? I was like, I felt like the vibe for Masterpiece. I always say it there, don't I? I feel like it's not fading, but it's just kind of disappearing into the background a bit. It's still got the people who collect it, but it's not as vociferous online anymore. People are into everything else. And I felt like that's...
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a bit of a changing of the tide there. That was really notable. Animated did well, Beast Wars did well, G1 did well. These are all the categories that
Animated definitely got the biggest shout. That was the one that people wanted to hear about. I wasn't prepared for that at all, and I was suddenly like switching to my favorite. I was like, oh, I needed a bit more preparation for this, and I'm not sure I put over the... But I know, I think I kind of felt like as soon as people had seen the choices, they'd already decided, and it probably wasn't down to us as much as... Like, I'm not sure what percentage of the crowd were actually basing their vote on, of our talks about our particular toys.
Sure.
Like, I think if they saw the 3 toys, by the time Liam's correct toy came up, not the one we had put in there for him, people had decided, I think that's the one I'm going to go for. And a lot of them really surprised me. I was very surprised at the choices.
Some of the choices were really, I was surprised too. So, but yeah, for the benefit of everybody listening, the funniest thing for me about putting this presentation together was that Liam, once we kind of hit on the idea and the format and that, was that fairly... I don't want to say early on, but certainly before the slides were done and everything, Liam came to me and was like, "Oh, let's screw Maz over." Basically,
it was ages ago. It was we were recording an episode, wasn't it? And he disappeared for a minute, and I was like, "Oh, what would be really funny?" And we were like, "This would be brilliant." I was not expecting you to turn on me like that, Sixo.
Well,
stabbed in the back
repeatedly.
What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
So basically, we included a slide when before the kind of main topic of discussion came up. We included a slide about Rise of the Beasts and surprised Maz with it, didn't we? To say that that's what we were going to be talking about, and you looked a bit horrified.
I didn't know what day it was or where I was. All of a sudden, was I dreaming? What's happening? This wasn't something I was supposed to talk about. What am I looking at? Are we in the wrong panel room?
The worst part of this is, the night before, I'd actually said to Six, I was like, "Oh, do you think we should do it? Because what if he doesn't find it funny? What if he hates it?" I thought, "Oh man, no." And now I'm like, "Oh, screw him. Sod him." Both did to me.
I was chuckling the whole way through the whole thing. I can't even tell you. But yeah, it was funny because I think you just looked shell shocked, like what? Yeah. This is not what I imagined we were talking about.
No. And of course, if you're really interested to hear more of this, like last year, our patrons will be getting a recording of the panel with some visuals too. I think, right?
Video and the whole video.
Video, I've got it. Yeah. Really good audio.
Really good audio.
Really,
really good audio. Yeah. The TFNation guys have really done a fantastic job with that.
They always do. They're really good. Yeah. They're good dudes.
Really. I mean, the support, but also the tech side of things is quite incredible. Actually, they do a fantastic job, I think. We
were well looked after again, very much so.
Yeah, for sure. But it was funny with the Rise of the Beast thing, particularly because you'd gone over because we were sorting the music out, the Mortal Kombat music, and you'd gone over to the desk and said, "Oh, I'll show you where to put it in," and they were flicking through the slides with you, and suddenly I was like, "Oh God, he's going to see the Rise of the Beast slide." So I kind of interjected and was like, "Why don't I do that?" And you just go and chill out by the side of the stage and look after Liam.
And you don't turn down an invitation like that. Like when Sixo says he's going to do the work, you just you look that gift horse in the mouth and you You go with it.
It's just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, what can I say? But yeah, then Liam, I'm afraid that I also made a bit of a deal with M.A.S. to screw you over as well.
Deal with the devil. Like, I can't believe all that time I thought we were playing just a funny, harmless, charming joke. And all that, wow, you sods were plotting behind my back.
Very much so, mate. Very much so.
Well, just pick better toys next time, Liam.
Exactly.
I won.
Did you, though?
It was the fact that the animated slide went up and it was all of our animated choices, which toys we thought were the best of the line. And so, first one up is M.A.S. And which one did you choose? I can't even remember.
Mine was animated Blur.
Blur, and I chose Bulkhead, Leader Bulkhead, and then it goes up for Liam's bit, and it's just G1 Wheelie, and it was just. I just remember hearing this mirth in the audience of like, what on earth? What's going on? And your face of like, what?
I was so confused. It took me a few moments to like register. I was like, what? At first, I thought you just put in that a placeholder slide. I was like, oh my god, this has gone in, and then I realized what you were doing.
It's so important to have that moment early on as well, because you just, I think, it's still really nice to get that moment, like the audience is with you and they're in the mood and they know what know what the scene is going to be for the rest of the panel. And when we had plenty of time to do it, and we had originally thought that we'd only going to get through 3 categories, but I think we did 5 categories in the end.
We did.
Only leaving Masterpiece and Alternators that we didn't get to. And it would be really cool, I suppose, if we share that lovely character select screen, because it was really, really cool.
We will. Yeah, we will. We should share that, absolutely.
Also, shout out to those people who were wearing Triple Takeover merch in the crowd. Now, I know I didn't see Andy in his apron for a second year running, and he said when you took your selfie of yourself with the crowd, I was just like one person to the right of where. But then I saw the pictures that I had taken of the crowd, and I saw Andy with his apron there. So I have seen you with the apron, and it is fabulous. Yeah. So good on you.
Oh man. And he's such a good lad, honestly. What an absolute trooper for turning up 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
With the sodding apron. Wow.
And being missed both times on stage.
Yeah.
And the gentleman sitting next to him had a G2 Omnibot t-shirt on him, didn't he?
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
The Triple Takeover t-shirt.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those doing the rounds through the weekend. That was really quite special to see. I think, for me, all of this, we talked about this last year, because I think last year was the first time that we collectively became more aware that actually quite a few people at TFNation were listening to the pod. And when I say quite a few, it quickly became apparent that quite a lot of people at TFNation were listening to the pod. But even then, kind of armed with that prior knowledge, I still felt like it was almost still a bit of a revelation this year as well, in a weird way. Like, do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, of course. It's not an entitlement or a given that people will remain listeners, or they'll still find it interesting. Maybe they met us last year and just thought, okay, I've done that, and time is short. These conventions are valuable, and I'll spend my time with my mates and doing other things. So it's still really, really nice that folks were coming up to us and talking to us all the way through the time. I know I was only there till Saturday, of course, but I do remember there were a number of people who came up to us collectively and said hello, and that was always really, really, really nice. And yeah, it's still a pleasure. It's still a surprise, and it's still a highlight.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really grateful for everybody that came up, said hello, gave a really nice, well wishes or a really nice message about the pod. It just really made my weekend, honestly. And there were a couple of people that I think came up on the Sunday, and I know I was like super tired. I was in a bit of a trance, honestly, Sunday morning. There was a group of well-known YouTubers, like younger guys like Paper Plane and that toy guy, etc. Really lovely guys that came up and said big hello. And I honestly, I feel like I was having an out-of-body experience at the time, just because I was so tired and, like, fortunately not hungover. I think I've managed to escape that, that pratfall, as it were, but still just so tired. But it was so lovely, so many people saying hello and everything, and like asking for selfies and things like that as well. It was just a really lovely vibe.
Yeah, it was. I remember there was actually there were even people who weren't listening to the podcast before they arrived.
Yes,
there was a German guy with his son, and they had been at the panel on the Friday. They hadn't listened to any episodes beforehand, and they came up on the Saturday in the dealer hall, and they had said hello, and they were really happy with the presentation, and they were going to start listening, and they wanted a selfie as well. So that was really cool.
Oh man!
So it's nice to see that the panel can actually get people interested as well. And I know there are people who come to the panel who don't listen to the pod.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why it's important to kind of, ease people in a little bit with the panel as well, isn't it? So,
and it was nice to have my annual refresh of how I am supposed to pronounce Hodert. So see, I got it right this time. This time I've got it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because it rhymes with no dirt. It's Hodert.
Did he say that? Did he say that?
Well, I said that, but he agreed.
Oh my god!
And using him as a great example, and his friend Pat, that these are people that we met last year, and I hadn't met them before. I'd spoken to him online plenty. I'd done a TF Source interview with him as well, and he's well known for being the Triptychon guy and the Autobot City guy. He's a well known dude. But there are people, obviously, like myself, who'd never met him in person. And he came up last year and he said hello, and I'd seen him around the con a little bit. This year, because we'd met him last year, I spent a lot more time with him. He was much more available to us, and he stayed longer as well this time. And actually was in the hotel room next to me. Him and his mate Pat were right next to me. Yeah. There's a funny story about hotel rooms, isn't there, that you might want to tell?
Well, I was going to say, you had your own little friend then next to you.
Right, nice. Which was nice since the hotel staff decided that I was not part of this podcast, which was a theme of the entire weekend, I'll have to say. Dude, what about the guy who wanted a selfie with the three of us? Just gave the phone to James Robertson and says, could you take a photo of us two? And then he just stood in front of me. I just wasn't in the picture.
Is that right?
Fair, how many people throughout the weekend kept thinking I was you? Everyone was
I continued after the weekend too.
Don't.
But as I was saying, it was really nice that people felt that they could spend more time with us now because they got to meet us last year. And it was just even the patrons like you guys who met us last year for the first time, said hello and introduce yourself. This year it was just a lot easier to just talk. Oh, hey, how you doing from last year? And it's so much nicer, and it's community building. It's legitimately community building.
It really is.
Everyone was so nice that we met. There were so many people. The Patreon guys, they were all fantastic. Like I sat down with them on the Sunday for a few drinks and just chatted, and it was just lovely. Just really nice people. Everyone at TFN is nice, aren't they? Though,
so nice.
Loads of good people, but it's just nice that you can just sit with anybody and just sort of chat for a bit, or. And these are people we talk to on the Discord as well, so it's just nice to have that conversation.
Yeah, there's so much good about this show because it's inclusive. Yeah,
and Andy H, I've got to give him an enormous shout out. Not only is the loveliest dude, he gave me a spectacular bottle of rum, which I demolished on that Friday night.
Yeah,
and I was still very drunk going around the dealer room on that Saturday morning.
Yes,
that does explain a lot. I recall, Maz, you and I both concluding that Liam had reached that stage where it was hard to interpret what was being said.
That rum. It was very nice. It was delicious. So thank you, Andy. But that frequently happens after some beers, anyway.
Yeah, but it's a really nice boost again to your enthusiasm for this community and this hobby that this show every time. Which was why it sucked so much to leave early, because you missed that on the Sunday when people have kind of spent themselves out a little bit, so they don't spend as much time in the dealer room, and you can spend longer at lunch, and people just spend a bit more time together. It was really nice to actually also meet people who I knew from other walks of life. Like, there's an Icelandic fan, and he turned up at the show.
Oh wow!
And
the other Transformers Icelandic. Fan.
There's two actually. I've met two different Icelandic fans at the show.
Right.
Three sounds like a saga.
But very funny. But this one, they had previously come to my home, and we traded, and they'd seen my collection, and then I didn't know they were coming to TFNation, and they caught me just a little bit after the dealer room opened on the Saturday, and it was really nice to see someone there, because I don't think I'd ever seen them at TFNation. And it's just that little connection of like, oh, actually, this is someone from another part of my life as well, which is nice. There were people who actually also knew what I do in my day job, and that was quite a funny one. There was a bit of overlap there to see them at the show and talk about that. So it's such a mixed crowd, and it's that whole experience in the bar is great. And of course, we get to see our friends from previous years who we don't normally see throughout the year. Not necessarily patrons or people who listen to the show, but just the people who we used to hang out with at the show. And I was going to say, with.
We get to have fantastic discussions like who the best turtle is.
Right. Well, that's already been decided.
I mean, as we all agreed, it was Raphael. Obviously, clearly the greatest turtle.
Literally nobody agreed on that.
I mean,
except it's
me and Maz.
I mean, the majority here definitely feel that was the case.
The majority here, maybe, but online and in the room at the time, it was fairly conclusive. That was not the case.
At the time, the people that agreed with me and Maz were James Roberts and Nick Roche. Both.
But still, the larger quantity of people.
I'd rather be in that crowd. I think they're good.
I think sometimes with opinions, sometimes it's a quality over quantity. So I think the quality of the person giving the opinion matters here.
The quality of the person. My God, man.
Yeah, so some opinions just carry more weight than others. And in this case, I mean, I guess you don't have a leg to stand on, however long they might be.
Christ alive. Did you just talk about the quality of the person? My gosh. Well, that's been committed to the pod for eternity, hasn't it? There it is. Yeah, that moment actually with James in the bar was really funny. You were talking about it just a second ago, where I remember we were chatting with James, we were having a pint and stuff, and I became aware, I think, that there was someone to the side of me, to the left, that was kind of, I think, trying to make eye contact or what have you. And I'll be completely honest, I assumed that they were there to talk to James. And I kind of looked at him and he was like, "Oh, hi, can I just say I'm really big fan of the podcast and all of this?" And I was like, "Oh man, thank you so much." Do you know what I mean? It was really sweet what he had to say. And then the next thing I know, he's handing his phone to James and saying, "Can you take a picture of the four of us?" And I was just like, "What's happening here?" Honestly, it was
immediately after the photo when I was saying, "Did you just see what happened?" And we all just everyone just went, "What?"
He was doing it for a bet, man. Someone sent him on a wind-up trip. So go and make out that those are the people you want a photo with and play that trick on James Roberts.
Hand your phone to James Roberts. Honestly. James was took it really nicely, I think. So
the best parts of TFN are always the bar, aren't they?
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yep, completely agree. And it was interesting because this time, I think my mind was on other things. I didn't feel as immersed in the show as previous years, just probably because of the stuff I was coming back for anyway, and the fact that I knew I wasn't going to stay for the whole weekend. And my most memorable talks with people were not about toys. They were just heart-to-hearts about, I don't know, fatherhood, marriage, work, travel, just growing up and growing old. And it was these talks, catching up with people who I hadn't seen since last year, and like people who had major changes in their life between this year and last year. And it was the opportunity to sort of be thanked or thank them for the contact that we've had in that time. And those talks were the ones that I'll remember the most. And those were the ones that caught my attention and my enthusiasm the most. And I don't know if it's always been that way in previous years. It's been a very healthy mix in previous years for me. But this year, that was definitely the highlight for me.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. There was a couple of people like that. I think as well, people like Graham who hadn't been since pre-pandemic, for example. There was, just as one isolated example, that it was so lovely to kind of catch up with properly, having seen him briefly at the mini-con in Manchester sort of 6 months or so ago. But, people like that and lots of people really. But as you say, it was those conversations that really made it for me.
It matters when someone doesn't come. Yes, there are loads of people there, but it matters when one person, even out of 200, 300, 400, doesn't make it, because they are noticeable by their absence, however good time you're having. And for example, Jason Wagner said he wasn't going to come this year. He had other plans, but that changed and he was able to come, and it felt great to have him there. And he's actually someone who made a really big difference to my weekend, massively so. And so even one person makes a difference. Not seeing Santiago Jones there was
I had the
cool.
same thought. Yeah, he was missed. Definitely.
And it was nice to see Inbound Lee came. It's been a while since Lee has been to one of these things. And even though I called him Andy the first time I saw him, and he didn't hear, and then I apologized, and he goes, "What, you're apologizing?" I was like, "I could have gotten away with that." But it was lovely to see Lee as well.
I told you not to do it. Told you.
That apology was hilarious. Jeez. Just watch you being like, "I called you Andy earlier," and it's like, "Did you?" And I was like, "Oh man."
Sorry, Andy /Lee. But even so, seeing someone after a few years, it's immediately different. You just pick up where you left off as well. So with a different name, of course.
It was the funniest bit is that when you called him Andy, I was there going,
"It's not Andy.
What's he on about?" And then afterwards, you were like, "He looks a bit different, doesn't he?" I was like, "Yeah." Because it's not him.
I think it's because he got us in the car park, and it's just as you've arrived at the show, and you suddenly you're like, first thing that happens, someone speaks to you, and the mind just isn't there yet. You just haven't clicked into gear. Well, I hadn't clicked into gear yet, and I just
for sure
brain went wrong way.
No one shouted at you for your pot noodles this year, Liam,
because he didn't have a crate.
They were well hidden and consumed. And consumed apparently when I was really drunk.
Right.
I woke up and they were all gone.
That was quite funny. Your face, because we did our little pre-TFN shopping trip, didn't we? Stopped off at the supermarket to get a few supplies and bits, and you obviously got the requisite
I'd forgotten
pot
about
noodles
the
and all of
lost, the
that.
fallen brother, the fallen pot noodle man.
Yeah, you dropped it, didn't you? Or was it just
No,
broken?
no.
I can't.
No, it was just broken when I went to put it through the little beep 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 device. It just had a little hole in the lid.
Bagging area.
Bits of it from that. Yeah.
It was more memorable for me, other than your broken pot noodle, was the look of horror on your face when you realised that Maz and I were buying fruit.
Yeah.
Who goes to a convention or a weekend out like
Grapes?
that and just takes flipping healthy food? It's all
Do you
like
know,
crisps.
That's
snacks.
a really good point, because I think I forgot that this is a vacation. I forgot that this was not just us going as Triple Takeover, looking to buy toys, meeting up with friends as you do annually. I forgot that it was a vacation, and I needed to be reminded by Raz, actually. I remember in the first evening, I said to him, I don't know how into it I am. Like, I'm still very much, my mind is still very much on being careful what I eat and not drinking a lot, because I just decided to have a slight change of lifestyle in that respect. And I was still doing it on the Friday, on the Thursday, or even on the Wednesday, and on the Saturday. But he was just like, just remember, this is a vacation for you. And in previous years, I've walked into that hotel lobby and the rest of the world has disappeared. And we are just in the TFNation bubble, and it is vacation time with your mates for a weekend. And it's amazing. And that's the way to do it. But I didn't do that this time. And I brought too much of what's going on externally into it. And I had to be reminded, look, don't worry about it for a weekend. Have a burger, have fries, drink, whatever. Just enjoy yourself. It's just a couple of days, and you'll go back to your other lifestyle as soon as you're back home, which will be earlier than normal. And you'll be sorry if you didn't treat this as a vacation. And that was a really valuable piece of advice as well. And it was so important, I think, to treat it as a vacation and a special event where maybe sometimes you can just let your hair down a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Well
I agree. Yeah, with all of that. So, no, I had a wicked time. I thought it was a brilliant weekend overall. I can totally see how not doing the Sunday would make an impact, for sure. But because it is kind of it's a 3-day thing now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a process. It's got a start, a middle, and an end with closure.
And if you 100%. Aren't doing the Sunday, you're losing part of the Saturday as well, because you're already thinking about going home, and you've got to plan. Like, you had to go and pack, get ready to get up early and all of that. Absolutely. You can't. It's not the same. You can't not stay out. But you know what I mean? It's not as easy to just stay up late with mates on the Saturday night, get drunk, have all those chats you normally have. I've got to get up early. I've got to be gone. I've got to do this.
Yeah, and you miss another breakfast with your mates as well.
Oh, what a breakfast!
That's another key thing.
We had a great breakfast.
So. We had quite a chat. We put the world to rights about the current state of DC films, didn't we? And all of that kind of stuff. You would have loved that, Maz.
Yeah, I would have stayed in bed for that, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been your chat, to be fair. I'm sure we would have talked about something different if you were there. But no, it is a 3-day process. And I think particularly now that we've got used to the idea of doing the panel on the Friday, which in itself is definitely part of the process for me. And do you know, I think I mentioned this to you both, but the M.A.S.K was so kind, the organisers of the convention.
You might recognise them.
You might recognise them, yeah. And they were chatting to me on the Sunday, and it was Dave specifically, and saying to me that, that they want to keep us on the Friday and all of this, because when they published that we're coming, they noticed quite a considerable uptick in tickets and things like that. And I was like, really? Like, that's incredible. And, we had a few people saying, oh, I wish you were doing your panel on the Saturday and that. But I think they've done a great job, actually, at really making the Friday an event. Because I remember the first year when I went to TFNation, it was really, it felt not like an optional thing, but it didn't feel like quite the sort of holistic part of the weekend that it does now.
Yeah.
And now it really feels like a 3-day thing.
It benefits from not having the dealer room now, I think, because there's no urge for everybody to separate and be going off. I think people just meet up, don't they? And they do stuff on the Friday, and I think it's way better for that.
I completely agree. Yeah. I'm happy to not have the dealer room on the Friday, genuinely. But then when it all starts on the Saturday, it's a bit of a mad one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. But also, I just feel like I should mention this. We were talking about our panel, and we were talking about some of our patrons wearing our merch in the audience. Liam, do you want to maybe tell our listeners about merch?
Oh yeah, we've not done that.
And I was saving it for the end. Because
Wait, the whole thing, the whole spiel.
Yeah, I got it already. But like I was just saying, I was just thinking about how that we saw those guys, you know, in the t-shirts, and it was really nice. And there were various people. I haven't got any messages this week, but what do you call it? But
no messages over the last
show.
3-4 weeks, huh? No one got in touch.
No, there was plenty, but there was enough at the show. There were people coming up asking, you know, where they can get this merchandise. And one of those guys, local fella, Dudley from Dudley, came over and was like, "Oh, I love the show."
Liam. Go home.
I've seen people walking around
He is home.
in Triple Takeover t-shirts. Where can I get one? I was like, dude, rebel.com/people/triple takeover /explore. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. There we go. So obviously I gave Dudley the right details.
Shameful.
Why?
Dudley from Dudley.
Look, I don't choose people's names. I'm not responsible for what their parents have named them or the geographical locations of their birth.
I wonder if there is anyone living in Dudley called Dudley. There must be, right?
That guy.
All right.
So thank you, Dudley, for being a loyal listener, and I hope you did buy something from the Rebel store.
Maybe this is a new way of doing these segments. Just drop them in at random locations into the episode instead of at the start. Oh, by the way, Patreon. So
yeah,
do it that way.
Maybe so. But when the dealer room opened on the Saturday, that was it's always a process, isn't it? Because there was, firstly, huge queues. People really keen to get in there. I did see some running going on and everything to kind of get in there.
It's like the Harrods sale.
It is a little bit.
The doors open, it's just a flood. Do you know, I can totally understand why they do it the way they do. And it makes sense, this whole idea of early access. And actually, the fervor would have been greater this year because one of the dealers, Christian Hyatt, had, and one of our patrons, by the way, who had advertised on Twitter. Yeah, geezer. Who hung out with us on Saturday night, and it was lovely to get to know him and spend time with him. Big time collector.
Can of beer from America. That was cool.
That is interesting.
It's called a seltzer.
Well, there you go.
I know what that means. Not an Alka-Seltzer either.
The thing to say about Christian is that not only, yes, he's a dealer, but not only is he like a total, just a lovely, lovely human being, just like a total nice guy through and through. Also, a very interesting Transformers fan to chat to.
Like, had a story about every item on his table, didn't he? Everything that he was selling that you picked up, goes, I got that from here. And did you know it was that? And that was it was really, really funny. Yeah. And the thing is, he'd advertised on Twitter what he was going to bring, some of the highlights, and I think people had gone in primed, ready to pounce on some of those things. And people obviously knew that the Leicester Vintage Toy Store were going to be there, and they had just gotten in a huge collection of boxed mint G1 Transformers, and they knew that whatever hadn't sold in the store was going to show up maybe at the show. And you've got Spacebridge as well, who brought loads of boxed G1. So the G1 was incredibly well served at the show this year, like in a better way than I can remember for a few years.
It's funny, isn't it, how the dealer room almost has its own personality every year. It kind of shifts a little bit. And this year was heavily, heavily G1.
Very heavily. And not just regular G1, but very, very interesting G1. Like, they were rare G1. There was even some Diaclone. There were stuff that people have probably been looking to pick up at TFNation for years. You know, Swoop, Fort Max, stuff like World, Roadbuster.
Ken bought a Swoop, didn't he? He bought a G1.
Ken bought a Swoop. Ken bought a Superion.
Not from Ken. Not that
Ken knocked his wants list down to about half. So there were things there this time that haven't been there in previous years. I mean, Christian had a ton of gift sets.
Yeah, he really did.
He had the Gig Bruticus as well, the Jig Bruticus in the US style box. I mean, people who had a bit of a budget this year would have done great.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of Japanese stuff as well. There was Star Saber, Victory Leo, all of that,
That's
Landcross, Deathsaurus. I mean, go nuts! It was all there.
Was Go Nuts there too?
Go Nuts was it was really expensive. It was a very hefty price on Go Nuts. But
which Peace Wars one was that? Does it turn into a squirrel?
Well played.
It's the rare variant of Heinrad.
I was just going to say
Beast Wars 2.
Yeah, directly above enemy scrotum or whatever.
Well, there you go.
Enemy scrotum.
So that's the thing. They offer early access, and of course the dealers are there before everyone, and trades take place between dealers before the doors open. That's just how these things go. Should also mention Matt, who had done incredible customs this time. And I had missed out on all the Minicon ones and the scrounge and stuff like that. But I finally managed to get something off him. I got the Hello Kitty themed white and pink Cosmos for a friend. And it is really, really, really good. And the amount that people spent with him on custom Action Masters or the White Shadow kind of version of Black Shadow.
Yeah.
Just that kind of stuff that he brings. It's a completely different
amazing
dimension to the dealer room. And you have to make a choice. Am I going to buy something on my wants list that's vintage or toy related, Hasbro, Takara, third party, or am I going to buy a custom, which is so good, it's worth a chunk of my budget?
So this is Matt from Toy Fu, by the way. And Toy Fu is well worth a mention as well, because it's every year it's a huge part of the dealer room, huge draw, because it's all for charity. They raise money for Mary's Meals and helping to feed hungry children, which is incredible. And this year, I think more than any other year, that table was stacked with stuff, like really incredible. And Matt does these customs, but they are worth highlighting because they're not just like he's got a G1 Warpath and painted it a different color. He's actually recreated the molds. So like he's retro engineered the molds, cast molds, and created new versions of these toys. And I have quite a few of these now. I'm looking at them. I got 2 Cosmoses from him at the show, so different colors, one in orange, one in kind of a sort of purpley pink. And it's just like having the G1 toy in a different color.
It just feels like legitimate variants. Yeah,
it really does. It really does. Honestly, like you could just think that they were a legit item. And I
have the Cosmos, and it's fantastic. His work is just incredible.
Yeah, really is. I also got the Shattered Glass Warpath from him because he got me with that because he said, "Oh yeah, it was based on an idea from one of your articles about shattered glass being inverted colors or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, I've got to buy it now, don't I?" And I did.
He saw you coming.
Yeah, he did. So he always sees me coming.
Yeah.
And they had Action Masters and stuff as well, but a lot of those went to auction, and that got out of sight. I think someone paid. I can't remember who, but someone paid, I think it was over 300 quid for one of the custom Action Masters, like an orange Trax.
It's becoming a staple of the show now. Like, it's just makes the show that much more unmissable because of what you might not get a chance to purchase if you don't see it and grab it there. I had to be really quick to get that Cosmos. I had thought I might get the pink and white one, but Nick had got there first because Mr. Cosmos, being Mr. Cosmos, he got that one.
I was thinking because randomly I've actually just come into or tracked down a BotCon Action Master breakdown from 2004, and this was an unofficial thing. This was like the year after BotCon. Essentially, the whole license it sort of ended or what have you. But there was a BotCon, just not officially. And this figure is essentially a custom, but it's it was the exclusive, if you like, of the show, and it was made. I think there were 201 that were made, and in little boxes and everything. And I was looking at Matt's customs and things. Of course, he's done loads of Action Masters. They're almost now, I think of them as like the exclusives of TFNation, and I can sort of see these things, in years to come, trading hands after the fact, and I'm sure they'll either retain or kind of increase in value. They'll be quite little desirable things, I'm sure, and it's just incredible.
But yeah, talking about the dealer room. So for a couple of years now, they've been trialing the early access. So the dealer room is open a little bit earlier for people who pay a bit more on the Saturday, and then others who haven't paid for the early access, they come in later. And of course, your impression is that those who have paid for the extra access to come in early, they will be the big spenders. They will come in and they will clear out all the best stuff, grab all the bargains, and then everyone else will be left with whatever else they're left with. And it was really interesting to me how it didn't actually work out that way. When we were having our walk around the dealer room and we had early access, I realized that by the time I'd been to 2 tables, I had just suffered from toy blindness. Like I couldn't see the wood for the trees anymore.
So true.
I went to the toy food table third, I think, and I just thought, I'm not even seeing what you have. Like I no longer have the cognitive ability to discern what toys here I need or want. What's the condition? What do I need to look for? I'd spent that mental energy already at the Space Bridge and at Christian and the Leicester toy tables there. I'd already spent myself there. And that was in a relatively relaxed environment. So I can't imagine what it's like when you just come in with loads of people and you're on the early access and you know you've got to make use of that time. But then what happens is the next crowd come in and they've been made to wait longer. And if anything, they're even more crazy and they spend even more because they know that they've been made to wait. And what have they missed out? So like the first thing that happens when they came in was some dude picks up a box Fort Max, like what was it, 800 quid, and that's it, done.
John.
There's loads of that going on.
Was that John that got that one?
John bought the box Fort Max for 850 quid.
Ah, right, okay. Okay, it was John.
Is he going to thank you for
John.
mentioning his name?
Yeah. He's happy. He's fine. He listens.
But that was was that the Harrods Fort Max or just a regular Fort Max?
I don't know if it was the Harrods one. I think
regular Fort
I
Max.
didn't get to see the Harrods one. This is the toy blindness that there were things I knew were there that I actually didn't get to see.
I knew John got a Fort Max. Stuff. I just wasn't sure if it was that one or not. But
and of course, Sid cleaned out Christian's Diaclones.
Oh man,
you know, he got in there and like he knew what he wanted. He was like bam, 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 straight away.
It
was great to see Sid though. I haven't seen Sid in years.
I still got regret on that micro change blaster. I still got a bit of regret on that one. But hey ho, it is what it is. But yeah, it was. I was like you though. I was kind of like looking around, just like, oh my god, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? There's just so much stuff. It was just, it was mind blowing.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine how I felt when I was down there really drunk because I missed the early access and I couldn't see anything. All I could see was.
I'm so glad we didn't wait for you. Oh my goodness,
you were late.
What I would have missed if I had waited for you. Do you know, that's the thing. I went in with the lowest budget I've had for years. And I just knew that there were so many things I really liked the look of, but they were just off the table. Whereas in previous years, I might have been like, that will be my signature purchase this year. But it led to a completely different experience of digging through bins and seeing amazing bargains for things that I think other people might have missed. So that was a different experience compared to other years for me. Like not just like last year where I walked over to Christian's table and was like, yeah, boxed Baldigus, yes. All of Machine Wars, yes. It wasn't like that this year at all.
No, but a lot of that stuff as well, like last year, he had a lot of Beast Wars stuff, for example, G2, and it was all in the fairly accessible kind of category. It was all kind of, there was a lot of stuff, let's say at like 20, 30 quid, that kind of stuff. And there wasn't so much of that this year. A lot of it was high roller stuff.
We've got to talk about prices, this year.
Well,
it was different.
Yeah. It was different, definitely. It did feel like it had gone up a notch in some cases.
And that's not just the high-end dealers. I think, I hope they'll forgive me for saying so, but I felt like Toy Foo's prices were higher than I've come to expect as well. Like they were much closer to market value now. Like there were a lot of tables that were asking the very, very highest amount that they could ask for the things that they had. Well, of course, they sold, so it works.
That's the thing. Yeah. Everything was selling. I mean, I think in the case of Toy Foo, I think my understanding is that, they go through and they mark everything. Sort of, they do the research versus, eBay sold listings and things like this. So they've definitely kind of become aware of what things are worth or what people would pay for it,
and it all goes to charity, so that's good.
Yep. Like Matt stuff,
I think with Toy Foo, I always have that feeling of like, it's for charity. So, it is what it is. You're not going to haggle or whatever, are you? Let's be fair. So, but yeah, people were buying it, but it did feel like there was a lot of expensive stuff this year.
Yeah, there were things that I looked at and wanted, but I couldn't get past the prices on. And I think more than any other year, I had a lot of those moments where I'm like, oh, can I have a look at that? Oh, what's the price on this? And then I'm like, okay. And then I've put it back in the box and handed it back. It's not a feeling I enjoy because I don't like to waste people's time. I'm not a tire kicker. I don't want to just handle stuff and say, oh, I just want to take a look at it. I'm interested in buying stuff. But once I knew the prices, I quite regularly, or they said, oh, do you want to take a look at it? And I'm like, no, I can already see the price. I'm good. So that was a very common feeling for me this year.
No, I was exactly the same, dude. There was one item, honestly, that you both know. I'm sure you'll realise what I'm talking about. But there was one item that I looked at quite a few times on Paul's table. That I would love to have owned, but I just kept looking at the price, going, as much as I want it, I can't do it. And it was, I believe, one of our patrons that picked it up in the end. And I've seen their posts about it since, and it's fantastic. Do you know what I mean? Great purchase. But just for me, I just couldn't reconcile the price, I guess. Do you know what I mean? So it was not to be. But, it is a weird one when you're confronted with something that you've wanted for ages. And then suddenly it's like, oh, it's here. and I'm not going to get it.
That feeling was, distinctly that feeling I had.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to analyze our experience at this show, because if you think about how many different facets our TFNation experience has, we have the dealer room thing, the toy buying, the collecting, which is ultimately where we came from originally. We have the community aspect, which is meeting up with all of your friends. And there is the presentation panel guest aspect that we have as part of our experience now too. So we actually get a very fulfilling, diverse experience at TFNation. Sure. And it's interesting how if one works out better than the other, or there's more of one versus the other, or for example, you buy a lot fewer toys in this year, but you had a more successful panel, or if you spent less time with your friends or more time with your friends, it's funny how that mix and how the pie chart is made up of your TFNation, how it can alter the way ultimately you will look back on this year compared to other years.
Are you talking about like the Sunday experience and things like that?
Not necessarily, because even the Saturday, I think it's just interesting for me how coming away with fewer toys, many cheaper toys, has so many definite pros and cons. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I didn't feel like I came away with very little, because I was also buying things from Paul from way before the con.
Yeah,
that he said that I would like you to take these at the con because I don't want to hold them much longer. So I actually ended up taking a whole bunch of stuff home that I didn't buy at the show. So in a way, I still left with a whole stack of toys.
You still got a pretty impressive stack.
Thank you, Galaxy Force Megatron, taking up 95% of the luggage. But
you have to get it all on an airplane as well, which is a different prospect. So.
And amazingly, that extra carry-on I brought, I didn't even need it. I left it at my parents' place in the end. I didn't even need it for the plane home. I just didn't Tetris well enough at the show. But when I got back home on the Sunday, I managed to get it all in there and extra stuff.
So many times we were pointing stuff out to you and you were like, yeah, but I won't get it in the luggage.
That was definitely my feeling. Like, you can't take a risk with it as well.
Yeah.
But no, so that was one thing. Like, you come away with fewer toys, but also spending less is a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to not have tapped yourself out completely on spending. And plus you come home with enough stuff that you can appreciate. Like, you don't feel like I bought so much. You almost start to not, again, I use this phrase, not see the wood for the trees. But it's very interesting how my experience certainly has changed at TFNation over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because it just involves more.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I feel like I did not do enough of this year is take advantage of some of the panels and the events and things like that. So
too right, yeah.
I feel like it was just such a busy time seeing people and talking to people. And I genuinely, I was quite hoarse on the Sunday because I just spent the whole time talking with people, and whether that was over a beer or just chatting in the dealer room or whatever it was, I just felt like I talked constantly. I mean, TFNation now is such for me that I find I can walk around, and even if I'm by myself, sort of barely 5 minutes would go by without someone saying hello or speaking to me or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
So fast.
And it really does. And it's just such a strange thing. And so numerous times people would, I'd be like looking at the clock or whatever and being like, oh, that panel's on at whatever time. And I'd look at the clock again and be like, oh, I just missed it. And it was just sort of mad. But yeah, I mean, there were so many great events. Obviously, they had things like Robus in there this year, which I think they'll be back as well.
Sorry, I missed that after I heard about what they had. And also, like, big shout out to Chris McFeely for stepping up and covering for Andy Cousins.
I was going to say, yeah, that was
last
incredible.
Minute step in, good job.
Yeah,
and Dave, and
Dave,
that's right.
yeah. Dave is a hero anyway.
And, for the Mortal Kombat music.
And he got the actual theme from the movie in as well. Into our panel, the Mortal Kombat theme. Yeah, later on. There was 2 bits of music. There was a character select screen, and then there was later on.
That just shows you what a blur all of that was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much of it feels like forever ago now, though, doesn't it? Already, it's just it's so weird. It really does feel like, unless we'd have sat down and had the chance to do this the week after, which we couldn't do because of holidays and stuff. I feel like it's enough time has already passed that it just feels like such a blur.
Yeah, it's true.
But not G1 Blur.
That was your favourite toy, Liam.
Yeah.
Made an appearance.
Did it?
God's sake.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Right, well, it's that time for the bit of the pod where we talk about our sponsor, and that is as ever, tfsource.com. Do check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And we've had a bit of a look at what they've got in stock and available for pre-order right now. And I think it's fair to say, lads, that there's one item that stood out and kind of caught our attention there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not just us either. I mean, how many
No.
emails and messages have you had from non-Transformers collectors about this privately? I've had loads.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. I've had from people who work at my company who don't collect Transformers, from my brother, from one of my best mates' husband. He's just messaged me out of the blue and said, okay, this might make me want to collect Transformers. I've had so many people who have nothing to do with this hobby who have messaged me about this item because it's gotten out of the hobby and into other circles.
It definitely has.
Really?
Have you had that, Liam?
No, literally.
No, not either.
Nothing like that at all. No one's emailing me about Transformers.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's emailing you?
I didn't say emails. I said messenger.
Oh, I thought you said email.
No.
By messenger, what is it, like carrier pigeon or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Little bloke on a bike.
Yes, it's carrier pigeon. Yes.
They're sending him handwritten letters.
It's Telegram 1.
Fax machine, actually.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Well, it is, if people haven't guessed already, RoboSen Grimlock. And we were just talking about RoboSen and them being at TFNation just a second ago. So it feels kind of appropriate to talk about this thing.
It's really lovely to speak to him.
Oh, such nice people, honestly. I mean, Rocky from RoboSen is just a dude.
Cool dude.
Absolute dude. But it's fair to say that this Grimlock is mind-blowing, isn't it? I don't know how else you would explain it.
It's stunning. Like, I can't believe it's a thing that really exists.
Yeah.
Just what it can do. Like, the Optimus was great and stuff, but like this just feels like another step up again.
Yeah, this looks like Masterpiece Grimlock, but it does all the other stuff that RoboSen Prime does.
Yes.
There's no aesthetic issues going on here.
It's amazing how much it does look like the Masterpiece, but it can do it all by itself.
Yeah. I think it's pretty... you can look at it and fairly conclusively think that obviously it's a licensed product and that RoboSen got the CAD files or design files or whatever it is from the Masterpiece to make this, because there are some pictures of it online side by side with the Masterpiece. I think TFW 2005 did a gallery of it, and literally the side by side with MP8, and it's identical in many ways, but obviously much, much larger.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so I swear it's not just it looks a bit like it. I think that was absolutely part of the design when making it, and the result is just stunning.
And think about all the learnings from Prime that they're going to take into this one as well to make a better product. All the feedback that reviewers such as yourself have given them, it's really going to be amazing. I would love to own this if I could. I really would.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hefty price. It's, you're talking on TF Source, it's $1,500, which I feel like the price, we've done a whole episode on RoboSen, so you can hear what we have to say in that one. But I feel like the price is obviously, it's a barrier for a lot of people in the regard of like, not everybody's going to have that as just a random chunk of change to put down on something like this. But also, I think when you see it up close, it also still looks value for money somehow.
Yeah, it's a bit like Unicron, isn't it? Where it's a special thing, so you can understand the price. Like, it's not something I could ever afford, but I can understand why it is that expensive.
Yeah,
based on what it does. It's kind of what it's about,
and just all the technology involved. I mean, looking at, not to get all whatever about it, but like the numbers of servos and voice commands and things that are in this thing are significantly increased from Prime. So that makes sense to me that it would be, more expensive. Seeing the transformation as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't end up facing a different direction the way Prime does. It's just like,
wow.
It's legit.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The dinosaur is an evolution from the truck. Weird.
So ironic.
Wow. Yeah. Irony.
It's the greatest talking point of the item.
What's funny about this is that, so of course we learned from RoboSen that, that Prime, I think it was in development for 15 years. And so that really shook me, actually, thinking about that, because...
It's crazy. It's mad.
It means that they started on the thing in 2008, which you got to think back to 2008 and think where we were as a fandom at that point. Like,
Animated was coming out.
Yeah. The
1 year into the live action movie era. Yeah.
It was Bayformers and all of that. And here are these guys putting this thing together and starting to design a G1 Optimus, which to me, it was already a fascinating project, but it somehow adds so much more, like another level of respect that I have for it, that they were producing this thing way back then, and that was the concept, because G1 Optimus was not such the thing that it is now. I mean, yes, there was the masterpiece and whatever, but
It's pre-MP10 though.
It was pre-MP10. And I just think that's incredible. But then Grimlock was, I think, 7 years of development. So you got to think the first 8 years they were developing Optimus, and then 7 years from now they started developing Grimlock. I just think that's incredible.
It is amazing. Yep.
And we learned that they had like Shoji Karamori involved with the design of Prime as well, which is just something else. This is the legend that designed. Well, he worked on the original Prime, although he wasn't the lead designer, as I understand it. But, of course, he designed G1 Jetfire. He worked on Masterpiece Starscream, the first one, MP3. And, now he's working with Robosen. So just incredible to me.
Robosen Starscream will be a thing to see if we get that.
Ooh.
That would be...
Will it actually fly?
Probably not, Liam.
Yeah.
Maybe it can. Drones can fly.
Yeah, it's just the drone with all the other stuff. Like, that would be the next step, sure.
Liam, I think you were there when they showed us the Buzz Lightyear, though, weren't you? That how that flies, quote unquote.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Is it like gas or something that comes out the end? It's like smoke, isn't it? Steam, as such.
It looked like an incredible magic trick, whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
It's all the smoke. Couldn't figure it out.
It really did look like it was flying almost. It was quite bizarre.
It's very clever. So I'm just wondering if Grimlock will breathe fire.
I'm just amazed that this thing has... well, I'm not amazed. No, I am amazed, because Prime already came out. The whole self-transforming, talking, dancing thing was out there already, and it had been for a while with Prime. But I don't know what it is about Grimlock that has captured the imagination of wider media and wider people. Like, no one ever messaged me about Prime. Like, maybe one person, maybe my brother was like, hey, have you seen this? And maybe Transformers adjacent people. But people who are absolutely not into the hobby have been captivated by Grimlock. And that's amazing, that achievement. It's
incredible to see it keep going as well, because when the Prime was first shown, it almost felt like a one-off novelty, but not like a positive novelty. It's like something different. It's like, oh, it's a robot, that's an Optimus Prime that can transform on its own. It felt very finite and a thing that would exist purely on its own. And so to see it move forward, because I know we then saw the Bumblebee, but that not transforming, you felt, it's just going to move into these kind of products. But then to see it keep going with the Grimlock, and you're like, wow, actually, there's a future in this. It goes beyond just this one thing.
Well, they showed off some teasers of what is coming as well, and I'm not at liberty to share what that is, but fair to say that it creates some excitement over the TFNation weekend. So I think the future is very bright for Robosen. I know not everybody is still convinced on these products or kind of sees how they sit in the fandom. Again, we've done a whole episode on that.
Yeah, that answered that question pretty comprehensively, I think.
I think so.
Episode 55, if you're wondering.
There you go. But honestly, I think if you saw this thing up close, Robosen Grimlock, you were left in no doubt about how awesome it is. It's that simple. And it is up for pre-order at tfsource.com right now. If you're at all interested in this thing or kind of on the fence and you've got the money maybe, then all I can tell you is that it looks incredible. So do check it out, tfsource.com, for all your Transformers and third-party needs.
We now return to the Transformers.
Right, well, coming back to TFNation then, not that we ever really left the topic, but hey, but we did obviously want to kind of get into talking about the stuff that we picked up as well. And I think, we'd obviously been talking about the dealer room and this toy blind list that we're all getting, but we all managed to walk away with at least something fairly successful. I think it's right to say.
Yeah, what I did get, I was very happy with, very pleased with. Felt like a very signature haul for someone like me.
Yeah, I would say so. You got some lovely items. So,
yeah,
Liam, you did well too. Just looking at a picture of both of your hauls, Liam, I'm wondering if you remembered that it was a Transformers convention overall.
Well, the first thing that happened when I got there was our good pal Jason Murray handed me a Batmobile.
As happens at these things, yeah.
And then a kind soul handed me a Ghostbuster in the dealer room. But most of my stuff, I keep having to look to work out, remember what I bought, because anybody who met me throughout the day will probably tell you that I had no idea for a large part of the day what I'd bought, because I was so drunk when I was buying it. So
excellent.
I I was having conversations with people, and they were like, "You do know we spoke this morning?" I was like, "Did we?" But
Classic
yeah.
Liam. So they now know what it's like to record a podcast with you.
Right.
It was a live experience. So.
Yeah, exactly. You got some. Should we kick off with yours? Because you got some really interesting stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have thought that you were going to go home with.
This year, like, I didn't really have much going in, that I was looking for. I buy so much anyway, and coming into the convention, I'd not long got G1 Fort Max, so it kind of felt like, coming down the other side of that. Yeah, but it's kind of like, it's just didn't have that same fervor because I was feeling quite fulfilled at that time. So the only things I went in looking for was the G1 Stepper War for Cybertron Optimus Prime. So it was quite an interesting jaunt around the dealer room for me that I remember.
So the Prime is fascinating to me because, I don't know, it's a personal thing and it's not at all... I was going to say it's not a popular opinion. That's not the right way to phrase it. It's not a common opinion. But I always feel strange about picking up new toys at TFN. It just never, to me personally, seems like what the priority would be for me. So I'm always fascinated when I see people buying something that is relatively readily available anyway online.
Yeah, well, I think for me it was just a big colourful box while I was talking to Andy. I think that's
right.
where it came from. I mean, we should clarify, it's the Legacy Armada Optimus Prime.
Yes, yeah.
That's what we're talking about. But I've wanted to get it for a while, just haven't bothered to pre-order it, or I think it's out now in places.
It is.
But seeing it there and everybody was excited for it, so I think it just went, oh, cool, why not?
But a bit of comfy there. It looks amazing.
Yeah, well, I think there's a void of, like normally you go in with a list of stuff that you're like, oh, I'd like to get this, that. And it wasn't this year, so it's just looking around for anything that grabbed my attention. It's like, oh, I love that. I'm not buying anything else. So.
And did you get the kickback at the show?
Yes. This was the toy that I kept forgetting, and I kept saying, I'm sure I've bought something else, but I couldn't remember what it was for ages, and it was only on the Sunday. Even I took a photo of my haul the first time and posted a picture, it's not in it. And it's because it was in a bag underneath. So I found it, and it was quite exciting to find an extra toy that I'd bought.
So this is the retro kickback, the reissue.
I've still not opened that yet, but it looks cool.
It's nice, man. It's really cool. Honestly, I think it's funny, those Insecticons, because I think I know a lot of people kind of talked about them and looked at them from pictures and were like, I don't know. I don't know if they're quite as special as some of the other retro reissues that we've had. But I've only had kickback so far, but I think it's great. I
was definitely in the same camp. I wasn't planning to pick it up, but obviously being quite drunk, I did. But I'm glad I did, because it looks really nice in other people's photos. And am I right in thinking that Hasbro have only just recently announced it? Because I saw them the other day. They're literally posting stuff, reveal photos of it.
What, kickback?
Yeah.
It's been a little while
because they showed off Shrapnel the other week, but I just noticed they've started posting photos. And I saw, when I posted it on Instagram, I noticed someone mentioned it going, Hasbro haven't shown photos of that yet. And I just assumed they were wrong. But then I saw them the other day going, here's photos of this new toy. Look, it's coming out now.
These days, it's hard to know sometimes, isn't it? Because the amount of leaked photos and things that, or even official photos that get dropped early sometimes from other sources. And then you're like, have Hasbro actually revealed this one yet or not? I can't remember. So honestly, I don't know.
I got quite a few things.
You got an Armada Laserbeak, which is one thing we did talk about getting beforehand.
That's true.
I found 2 there on Toyfu's table, and I got Sixo to buy one. I got you to buy one.
It winds my dog up now every time I press the button. It's great fun.
Job done.
Yeah, that's one that makes some decent noises. Talking about the thing that you got for my son, but that's of the same caliber of noise, I would say. I haven't actually shown him the Laserbeak yet that I got, and I've been waiting, but I will show him. And
do you understand what it is?
I don't know. We talked about this on the.
He's too young for a video camera, isn't he?
We talked about this to do on the miniseries where M.A.S.K was showing off his Micron Legend version, weren't we? And you were saying, Maz, that your daughter wasn't necessarily 100% sure what a video camera was.
Yeah, I needed to explain, I think.
Yeah.
It was the case. But I didn't realise that you got a Cyberjet.
Yeah.
Yes, so I got that from Christian's table after the convention had finished. It was just me and Ken were left, and I just saw it there. And I bought it. It was only 20 quid. And then I can't bring myself to open it now because it's G2 Air Raid, and it's, because it's Skyjack. And because it's the French one, it's on the Skyjack card still.
Oh, yeah.
So even though it is actually G2 Air Raid, the deco and the toy, I think it's in France and in some parts of Europe, it was still released on a Skyjack card. So it's got all the Skyjack stuff on it. And like as soon as I started looking at it, I was like, I can't open this now because it's kind of cool.
Of course you can. It's on the wrong card. I think you'd actually be doing them a service. They'd be embarrassed if they saw what had happened. You should actually open it.
I like it too much now like that. So now I'm going to have to buy another G2 Air Raid.
Were those toys that you're particularly after then? Because I must admit, we maybe I'd spaced on it, but I don't really recall you mentioning them much.
No, not at all. It was just because I saw them there. I kind of had a slight interest in the Cyberjets because I've not really owned any of them, so I thought it'd be
cool
quite
toys.
fun. Yeah, to pick up one. I saw the Jetfire one, and it was a redecoed Cyberjet on Toy Food's table. But I think Dan, our friend Fancy Dan, bought that, I believe.
Yeah. No, they're fun toys. I have them. They're really nice. I mean, it's like other than stuff like Retgar and the kind of odd one-off, this is really kind of the, where ball joints and stuff first started in Transformers big time anyway. So it's a cool piece of Transformers history, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as I was looking at Christian's table at the end, he had a bunch of them left, and I was like, oh, it'd be quite nice to have one of those. I like those cards and to get those toys. But yeah, it's just fun that it's on the wrong card, basically. But I believe that's how they were released, looking at the TF Wiki and stuff, that they're released on those cards in France and some places.
Right. What's with you always getting the last toy of the convention after the dealer room has closed? They're like trying to check you out.
I'm always the last one to go home from anywhere.
It was the same last year.
But there was also got G1 Stepper, the Takara issue of that, which was quite fun. That was the one thing I did go in looking for. So
yeah, you've been after one for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, and War for Cybertron Optimus Prime, but the old generations version, because I've got the new one, and it's cool.
The old one's really good.
Yeah, I prefer it. I like the robot mode better because it's not accurate. It's that I was saying about another toy recently where it's like the Studio Series Bumblebee Optimus Prime, right? It doesn't look like the design, and I like the toy more for that. You know what I mean? It's got its own take on it. And this is the same. It looks like a Gears of War character.
Amazing transformation on that thing as well.
Yeah. Like going through it, I'd never owned it before. So going through it, it's so intricate compared to like a modern deluxe. What else?
Well, the roller thing.
The roller thing, everybody seemed to have that. So I got suckered into buying it.
Is it a third party thing?
Yeah. And I don't know what the company's called. It looks like it says Fans or something like that. Oh, Mod Fans. There we go.
It turns into a little roller, doesn't it? But then into a robot
like a little masterpiece scaled roller. It's called a AL01 Ruler.
Ruler? Oh, isn't these ruller?
Yeah.
Like a roller fruit corner.
Yeah. It's like they just forgot to fill in the O, from roller.
Yeah. That's one way to do it, isn't it? If you need a third party name, just change one vowel of the official name and you're sorted.
But he is lovely. And there were two versions.
Paint blank.
Yeah, it's a paint blank.
Sure
Brilliant.
Battle crap.
Yeah.
Shark scream.
Combat dick.
Yeah, well,
Combat dick.
Yeah. There you go. Combat dick and ruller.
So this little guy, he's like a masterpiece sort of scaled roller. And
Optimus Crime.
We could go on for days.
Oh, we could, and we will. No, carry on, Liam. Sorry. Crap.
No, but it is great fun anyway. It's cool. It's just I like the fact it looks like a jump starter.
Rat tat. Or tap bat. That'd be it, wouldn't it?
Brilliant.
Slight diversion, apologies.
Sorry, Liam. Very serious topic, obviously.
It's cool. It's all right. It comes with a hose as well, like a little rubber tube for his guns.
Oh, well, like the classic roller.
Yeah. So it can connect to the back of your gun, but it's because it looks like a jump starter. I kind of like those colours on it.
It really does look like a jump starter. Yeah.
Or one of the reflector guys.
Yeah. So they do a silver version as well, and they had both there. So obviously, because of two different colours for roller, it's all right. It's only 30 quid as well. 35 quid.
Well, not bad. And did you get some stamps?
Yes.
No, they're the postcards. Maz, I've still got your set, by the way. I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's true.
The postcards of the stamps. They from TFN. They were giving them out when we
get
like wristbands and
Yeah,
stuff.
right at the beginning. That's right. Yep. And you had pockets in your trousers, and I thought, please hold on to those for me.
I don't remember that at all. I don't think I got any of those.
Oh yeah, so they were handing those out, and there were some other ones that I got from our friend Becca as well. So
yes,
yeah. What else did I get? There's like a little upgrade kit for some sort of trailer, which I'm going to use for photographs. But the other thing that's cool was this little Blue Streak model kit I got from Kapow.
From Andy.
Everybody, I showed pictures of my haul to or the stuff that I had in my bag, everybody was straight to that of all the things. And I can't remember what the company's called. It's like Blue or something like that. But yeah, that's fantastic. And I was sat with James Roberts and Jack Lawrence on the Sunday, and they were both so taken with it. Jack Lawrence ordered a box of the model kits whilst we were at the table.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite an impression it made then.
So yeah, he loves them as well.
Good haul, man.
That was it. Most of my money was spent on booze.
As it should be. Maz, do you want to talk us through yours?
Okay, so the first thing that happened, I think, when I walked in on the Friday was Andy Gold, one of our patrons, handed me a QTF Sunstreaker. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That didn't make it into my haul picture because I couldn't find it when I was taking the photo, but it fell out of a sock later.
What is with you guys getting given loads of stuff? Nobody gives me anything.
That is not true.
Yeah. Look at him.
Talking about this year.
Yeah, okay, so you missed out this year, totally. But yeah, I also got my annual Nick Roach Diaclone commission, which I was super looking forward to. And it's great robot base. He's actually done the head of this guy, and it is as Nick Roach and Diaclone as you could hope for. I don't think anyone else could do them as well as he does. He captures that stoic, handsome, piloted mech look perfectly. Like, he is the master of it, and yeah, he's done this guy such justice. I cannot wait to get this up on the wall. So that is a massive thrill for me. And the rest of it was bargains. It was just bargains. And there are some wacky things here. First of all, like, the only thing I got from two things I got from Christian, both crazy bargains. First actual show purchase was a vintage stepper. Like an actual vintage 1987 Japanese Takara stepper. No target master, no attachment, and a little bit of a repair on the rear window. But I actually think having Liam describe the issues that he's having with his reissue, with like the looseness and stuff, this doesn't have those. And it's like as good as a G1 Jazz, and it's a vintage stepper. And I couldn't believe it was £30.
That's really good, man.
It cost me less than the one in Poxy Muswell Hill would have done if I'd walked over and bought that. Go back to episode 2 or whatever it was that we talked about that. But this thing was an amazing find for me. And it was one of those cases where I was looking at all these boxed items thinking, I can't afford those. So I started going through the loose stuff he had in like plastic wallets at the front of his table. It's like, oh yeah, Roadbuster. Black Jazz? Oh, it must be the reissue. What's this? It's vintage. So I had to have it. And it has been such a nice thing to have, because I've spent years in thrall of this toy. Most of us have. It's just a legendary thing that's $1,000 and you simply can't get it. And to actually have it on my desk in front of me, looking at it thinking this is a vintage stepper, is amazing. So I was really happy with that.
And you can surely get a vintage nightstick for it or whatever, can't you? Like, it wouldn't be too difficult to do. I guess you wouldn't have the gold guns and stuff, but
it doesn't come with one. Vintage stepper doesn't come with it.
Does it not?
No, vintage stepper only comes with nightstick and the little clip on the back. So the clip was just like, that's never going to happen. But yeah. So it's virtually complete.
Does the nightstick not have like a little extra peg on the bottom to fit in Jazz's? Because it is Jazz's hand, basically, isn't it? Stepper. So
I don't believe the vintage is like that.
Because I noticed the reissue I've got is.
I'm not surprised. I mean, they retooled that reissue, and of course, it holds a regular gold jazz gun, and it comes with the regular launcher with gold missiles and stuff too. So it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it is.
But no, the vintage stepper, he can only have it in the shoulder attachment. And of course, he's got this big, massive hole molded into the spoiler as well, which you plonk it in there.
That was what I was thinking, is that it would look great even if you just had it in car mode. You could get a nightstick from Cyclonus and plonk it on the spoiler.
That's what I did for my photos of it last week. Exactly that. Just plonked them in there, and it looks fantastic. So that was a great buy. And I also got from Christian a boxed Mexican red-faced jump starter.
Yeah,
for £20. That's just like, this is amazing. Yeah. No. Yes, it is Topspin actually. Yeah. Great chrome, lovely box. I just thought that is a find. I don't think anyone had spotted it was Mexican on the table, and I grabbed that. The other stuff I bought was literally walking by, looking for other things, and just having something catch my eye. For example, from Toyfu, I bought that excellent little Cybertron Minicon submarine from the Giant Planet set, because I've got one, but the leg is really loose on mine, and I just saw it on their table by itself, and I said, how much is that? And they said, £2. Sold. Now I've got a really nice one.
Is it a submarine or a battleship?
It's a submarine.
It is a submarine, isn't it?
Submarine,
I'm looking at it, yeah.
Because, of course, remember when we did the Minicons mini, so I just thought, I have to get all the submarines. I have them now. I have.
No,
the,
you have all.
I
you
have
have
all
all
four.
the submarines.
I have all
You
them.
have a fleet.
Yeah. I have the fleet,
My
and an extra
God.
one here too. Yeah. Then it was like, this is the funniest thing for me. Honestly, this is so silly.
Are you gonna say it?
I'm gonna say, yeah. So I started collecting Fall of Cybertron data discs after we sort of started doing our pub meets in the UK. I went through a phase of buying what I like to call mid-era generations and mainline stuff like this. And like that War for Cybertron Prime that you bought, Liam. Stuff like of that era I started to take a great interest in. And I loved the data discs. And I got a ram horn, which was amazing. And the Rat Bat was amazing. They were all so fun. And my daughter loved them as well. So it gave me extra motivation to buy them. I'm talking about over a decade ago now. And do you remember that seller on eBay? I think their name was Lena or something. And they used to get test shots and factory samples and things that were slightly misshapen from the factory that they would sell for cheap. Like they did loads of animated stuff, loads of that kind of era. And they had a data disc ram horn that was completely the wrong color. It was like burgundy dark brown instead of the red of the official toy. And I loved the idea that I could get a variant of this and it was completely different and maybe a one-off. So I bought it and called it Bum Juice because it's the color of bum juice, which is a joke I think only myself, Dan, and Rich were into. And of course, then I sold it with all of that stuff. Sold it years ago and sold it as a one-off test shot or something. And someone bought it. I don't remember who bought it. And there I was going through one of the bins at someone's table on the floor. And it's Bum Juice. I swear to God, it's the same one. Also £2. So I just had to have it.
For me, it was the fact I was next to you when you found this thing, and it was the fact that you very excitedly and loudly declared bum juice in the middle of the TFN dealer hall, and then refused to elaborate for a good 5 or 10 minutes whilst you bought this thing, and you were like, "I'll tell you in a minute." And I was like, "What? Hey?"
Mate,
it just felt like someone had, skipped 2 pages at once.
I can't believe it was there. It's one of those things where other collectors say to you, I had a childhood toy, I sold it at a car boot sale when I was 8, and then I bought a toy from a collector last week. It's my childhood one. It just felt like that kind of ridiculous.
So are you sure it's the same copy?
I would have to check the photos, but it's so precisely wrong in the same ways as that were. It's the same wrong color. It's the same fading on parts of the paint that didn't print properly on it, on the tampos. It has to be the same one. It really does.
That's mad. I hadn't appreciated that nuance of the story. I was probably doing my best to get over what you called it, but the bit about you used to own it and all of that, I hadn't got that. That's really something.
I'm so surprised. So that made me really happy. The other thing I bought on site was the movie era breakaway getaway repaint of Cybertron Hotshot or Exilion.
Yes.
And this is a beautiful toy. And I started looking at Hotshot a lot in the weeks prior to TFNation, and I tried to get an Exilion as well. But then this was at the show, and the colors on it are spectacular. The translucent plastic on this I don't even have a name for this color. It's such a beautiful mix of purpley. It's so, so lovely. One of the best head sculpts I've ever seen on a toy. And it's really simple, almost G1-like transformation. And it was sealed for £20 at Kapow. And I said to Andy, can I take this as well? He just looked at me and went, why? But mate,
I remember that.
It's fantastic. Really lovely
£20.
£20 sealed.
That's a bargain.
And the photos I did of it did so well on social. I'm so happy with it. It's just gorgeous. Really, really happy with that purchase. And the only other thing I bought at the show was VNR Optimus, the Volvo regular Optimus repaint, like the Amazon Prime thing. Yeah, non-Christmas.
De-Christmased.
I bought that from Andy too. I did a lot of business with Andy this year. And so that was a very, very small haul. The VNR is as fun as I hoped it would be. Trailer is absolute tosh, but the cab itself is really fun. I've had it on my work desk since I got back from TFNation. Not a day goes by that I don't play with this thing. It's very much a show purchase because I think I might move it on as it doesn't really fit with anything else, and I've had my fun with it now. But yeah, that was it. Like no big ticket stuff. Just a really, really fortunate couple of finds like the Stepper. I think Stepper is as close as it comes to being big ticket.
Still though, man, it's a pretty good haul. And as
I'm happy with it, yeah.
Well, you had as well, looking at your full kind of weekend haul, you had loads of stuff already.
Yeah, of course. Like I came home with Galaxy Force Megatron. I came home with
Erector.
timeline, yeah, with Erector, which I have to sell actually because it's yellowed and I didn't notice. Rough stuff.
You know the toys. You know the toy is yellow anyway, right?
Yes, not that part, mate. Never imagined it was a white truck. But it is
just
quite
making
annoying.
sure.
And these were two I picked because the metal pins on them, on the wheels, were perfect. No rust, no tarnish. But unfortunately, the toy itself is discolored.
That's a shame.
But the thing I think I actually spent the most on at the show was the pink and white Cosmos from Matt as a gift from a friend for her birthday. That kind of tells you everything about the kind of stuff I bought this year. Like, it was all really cheap, really different and diverse stuff. Not a lot of it, but just great bargains. There were bargains, but you really, really had to look for them. Like, you had to not be looking at the highlights and the headliners and just really look at what was on the table in front of you, what was between this and that, what's in that baggie. The toy blindness needed to wear off for a second for me to spot these things, and I could have walked past them easily.
Yeah, fair assessment. Shall I move on to me?
Do it.
Go for it.
All right, man. Well, I got I had a bit like Liam. I hadn't really walked in with anything in mind of what I might pick up, and I've sort of learnt this really from TFN's past, because I find as much fun as it is to make a little list and say, oh, I'm going to get this and this and look out for this. The stuff that's there is never kind of what you imagine, and it was really all bets off about what we were going to see this year. I think after so much like G2 and Beast Wars and stuff last year, and I knew there was going to be a lot of G1. In fact, I think the only G1 bit I got was the Japanese Supercar Patrol team, which is the redecos, the Japanese redecos of the Sports Car Patrol. So it's all like Hyperdrive and Blackjack and those guys, but in different colours. And I'm super happy with this because really lovely set that I've often looked out at, online or whatever. And the card was quite badly yellowed, the bubble. So I was really like, oh, it's a bit of a risk. But there were, I think at one point, sort of 4 or 5 of us kind of studying the bubble to kind of see if we thought that the toys themselves were going to be yellowed or not. And having prized it open since, I can confirm that I've got 3 perfect Micromasters and 3/4 of another perfect Micromaster. So 1/4 of the white one, is slightly yellowed, but it's not so bad, honestly. Like, and for the price and everything, it was a bargain. So I'm going to see if I can de-yellow the little white lad and see about that. But even then, honestly, I'm super happy with them. So that was cool. I got a couple of bits from Toyfu. I got the Cybertron Defense Red Alert, but again the Japanese version, the Galaxy Force version, which is a toy that I've never come across before. But that was, it's boxed, mint condition, 40 quid. So I was like, can't say no to that.
I'm looking at your haul and thinking, how many of these did I point out to you or like nudge you into getting? That Galaxy Force thing I'd been looking at online, and like the prices of it were not great. And then they had it for 40. I was like, that's a must buy if you're at all interested in it.
And I'd looked at it loads online. That was the funny thing. And they had a loose one as well. Because I spoke to a couple of other people that bought this same toy at the con, and it was almost like, I think at least 2 other people bought the exact same figure, but mine just happened to be in the box. So yeah, that was cool. I also got obviously the Laserbeak that we've talked about, the Armada Laserbeak from them, and that was great.
Pointed that out to you as well.
Yeah, all right.
And the Mini Spy. And the Mini Spy was like, hey,
you're going to take credit for everything, eh?
Yeah. I believe I was the one that handed you the old big one as well that you bought.
I don't know, were you? I can't remember.
I was the first one to spot it under Christian's table, yeah.
The Mini Spy, I don't know if you did hand to me.
No, I didn't give you that precise Mini Spy, but I said, hey, Sixo, look.
Oh,
Mini
that
Spies.
are Mini Spies. Okay. Yeah. So I see the level to which we're taking credit for stuff here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game we're playing now.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. I get you. Well, I got a couple of other bits from Toyfu. So I got a couple of M.A.S.K customs as well. I got 2 Cosmoses, as I mentioned earlier, and the little Shattered Glass Warpath.
I believe I suggested you get the orange one.
Did you though?
I did, because you said what goes with the other one, and I said I think the orange one would go with it very well because you'd already bought the purple one.
So I think there's a level of taking credit for stuff where it's stuff that I would have.
You have a terrible
anyway.
memory for this, yeah. You just don't like it, do you?
You know, man. No, I don't mind. Whatever, but
where did you get the books from?
So the books, actually.
There we go. Where did you get the books from, Sixo? A few minutes ago when you were saying nobody gave you anything this year.
Oh, right. Well, that is true. Yes, I was talking about toys, but yeah. So yes, I got gifted two.
Well, I would also like to take credit for that because they were offered to me first, and I said I'm not taking books home because it's too heavy for my luggage.
Yeah, I also got from Toyfu the Road Caesar armor that Matt had done, which a lot of people, I don't know how many copies there were, 5 or 6, I think, and a few people went home with that. But it's specifically for the motivators, the G1 motivators, as opposed to the Road Caesar trio from Japan.
I designed those. I picked the colors for them. So you have to thank me for that too.
Actually, I
designed those.
I helped with the color scheme. Believe
Look
it
at
or
him
not.
taking the credit for everything. Why design the colors?
Incredible, right? No, I did. Matt made some, I think, better changes to them, but he had asked me early doors, I think, what colors I thought would work. So the pink chest, I think, was my suggestion based on Flame's chest, because I think initially he was looking at a different blue or something. I can't remember, but
Pink is always a strong call.
Yeah, well, it was just like, do you know what? I remember thinking, what would Andy Cousins do? Like if this was Andy Cousins now and he was designing or recoloring that set. Right. I often think that to myself, what would Andy Cousins do? It's just like my general mantra for life. But no, joking aside, I remember thinking he would dial up the color of this thing because that's how he was rolling at the time. So, and that was my suggestion. But Matt has done a beautiful job with it. I've got my 3 lads combined. I'm just looking at them over the room now. They look fantastic. So I got a couple of bits from Rotorstorm Sam. I got the little Age of Extinction Strafe, which is the Pterosaur recolor, which is super cool. That was one that I've looked at online a few times and just never wanted to pay whatever price or whatever for it. So really happy with that. And the Legends Megatron as well, the purple kind of G2-esque Megatron, which is very cool. Fiddle former thing. I really love it. Love the little Savage Noble that it comes with and all of that stuff. So kind of nice little Beast Machines reference. I got a couple of bits from Kapow animated. I got the black animated Megatron, the leader, the Shadow Blade Megatron.
They had a lot of sealed animated.
Oh man, yeah. You could have gone really nuts on that this year.
And he had some cool stuff this year.
He definitely did. Yeah, definitely did. Shout out to old Kapow. Good folks. And yeah, the Shadow Blade Megatron is one I've wanted forever. And also got the Jetstorm and Jetfire
Safeguard, yeah.
Yeah, Safeguard.
Pretty sure I pointed that out to you as well.
I think you did, actually. Yeah, I actually think you did. I could be wrong, but I think you did. Did you?
I did, yeah. Because they started to put them out while I was buying something else from it. So.
I remember that. Yeah. All credit to you. But no, that's really fun, actually. I've not transformed them. It's funny because loads of people have told me that that was one of those purchases that I was walking around with it, and at least one person said to me, "Oh, those are really crap toys." And I was like, "Oh, cheers." Like, okay, thanks for telling me your opinion on them, which is fine. I don't mind at all. But it's funny because a few people have been quite vocal about them. I've not transformed them yet, but they seem kind of fun actually in robot mode. I really like them so far. So we'll see. And got a little mini spy. Thank you, M.A.S.K.
Welcome.
And then there was the purchase of the show, I guess.
Here we go.
What to say about this thing?
It's this year's Razor Beast.
Yeah, it's a bit bigger than Razor Beast, though.
Yep.
Razor Beast looks sort of tame by comparison to this thing. Although probably the same price.
Roughly the same price. Yes.
I think.
I think I paid more, actually, if I'm honest.
I think you paid more.
I paid double what you did.
Right. That is somehow hilarious.
Although
so
you couldn't have paid me double what I did to take that home.
Well, I jokingly did say to Christian at one point, no, you're giving me a tenner, aren't you, to take it away? So basically, Christian, that we've mentioned a few times, had a sealed Supreme Cheetor from Beast Machines for £40. And there was no way I was going to pay £40 for this thing. And I ended up getting it for a tenner. And I'm just looking at it now and I'm like, what is it? Honestly, it's morbid curiosity is all I can say. Got the better of me. And this is the point, I'm sure, where Liam is going to point out that I said in the Beast Machines episode that I would never get this thing.
You may just have to buy a Supreme Cheetor.
No, I'm not doing that.
You must. How can you not own that thing?
No
What are you
way,
talking about? Of course you have to own that thing. I can't be expensive.
I will never.
Liam saw one for 20p.
Yeah.
I
What's the
wonder how
going
much they
rate?
are. Let's check it out. There's one on eBay, loose, incomplete, no sword, £8.
Why is even that's funny?
Someone priced it. I'm going to put £8 on it.
Oh no, hang on, it gets better. £8 or best offer.
20p.
There's a sealed one here, minted box,
So-
£85.
What?
What?
But that doesn't makes no sense. There's a sealed one then for about 50. Oh, the prices are all over the place. Another sealed one for 125. Makes no
That's-
sense.
Some optimism there.
But yeah, I mean, look, you can get a loose one complete for like £15.
No, I disagree. £8.
Yeah,
Possibly less.
yeah. But I don't want one.
It's just, you've got to have one.
Oh, it will never happen. It will never happen.
It's a gaping hole in your collection.
No way.
Oh.
No way.
No, I was actually going to point out that I spent the majority of Sunday with you. And my binding memory of us walking around the dealer room is the amount of times you kept saying, "Oh, I don't need that. Why am I going to buy that?" And I was like, "You want it secretly, deep down." I could tell. I was like, "I've never known somebody talk so much about a toy." Like,
Well, it was mainly the fact that I was lugging the bloody thing around with me the whole day.
this was before you'd even bought it. It was the saga of you buying it. It was like,
it
just
felt like an
buy it.
inevitability. By that point, though, I'd already drunkenly tweeted the night before, should I get it or not? And had quite a few responses saying, obviously, yes. So, and then once
Knew from the start, the second it began, it was like, that's what he's getting. That's what he's going home with.
when I first clapped eyes on it, I was like, no, absolutely not. On the Saturday, genuinely, I was like, there's no way I'm getting that ridiculous thing. It can stay there under. It was hidden under the table in shame. You know.
Yeah, I'm telling you that I spotted it on the Saturday and I handed it to you and took a photo of you holding it.
Oh, I do remember
I have
that.
the photo from Saturday, and I was
remember
so
that.
disappointed you didn't buy it on the spot. But I'm glad it got done on Sunday.
And for a quarter of the price, so yes. I mean, Christian's resignation of the thing. When on the Sunday, I just said to him, because on the Saturday night over a beer, I think he'd said, "I'll do it half price for you." And then on the Sunday morning, I was like, "Look, you don't want to take this thing home, do you?" And he went, "No." I said, "I'll just give you a tenner for it." And he was like, "All right, okay, fine." And it came home. But yeah, I was lugging it around everywhere. There are a few people that came up to me for like selfies and things like that, and it's in those bloody pictures and whatever. And Liam,
I need to apologise to that person again.
I was going to say, you mugging people off in the background, but
It's not my fault. You were having so many photos taken with that thing that when people shouted, "Get out of the way of the photo," I assumed it was like, "Oh, it's another bloody one of him being taking a photo of that flipping toy." And so I stuck two fingers up at the camera, not realising there was another person in the photo with you. Because you're so tall, you overshadowed the person.
what can I
Couldn't
say?
see them. I felt
But, yeah.
terrible. I still do.
No, she was fine about it. But no, it's a funny old thing. It's yeah, I don't know. I am looking forward to cracking it open. I haven't yet. It's still sealed. I absolutely want to do a video on it or something because I just think it's hilarious. And I do kind of want to see what it's about. Like, I've handled the thing before. That's the thing. I know it's crap, but I own it now, I guess.
Very good haul.
Yeah.
Storied haul.
Definitely a storied haul. Yeah. I did. I temporarily had the white shadow from Toyfu as well, but moved that on to one of our lovely patrons, who, when I got chatting with them, old Big Doug, when I got chatting with him, he was very, very gutted to have missed out on it. So it just seemed like the right thing to do. But yeah, I was super happy, honestly, with everything I got, and kind of not what I would have anticipated at all, but all good stuff.
I'd actually forget one thing I got because I didn't bring it home.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Well, yeah. So I was approached a bit later and told you in your hotel room, just stay there. I'm just gonna go get something for you. And then Holdert and his mate Pat and Raz came into the room with a boxed G1 Triptychon, which Andy had just given Holdert, but he's already got that particular version. So he then re-gifted it to me and proceeded to take it out of the box, transform it through all its modes, show me all the stuff that it does. And I was just sat there thinking, that's bigger than my suitcase. and I was stuck between immense gratitude and disbelief of what I was supposed to do with a box G1 Triptychon at this point, where my suitcase was already full of all the toys I was going to take home. So in the end, Raz agreed to look after Trip for me until at some point I can take it home. But thank you, Holdert. What an amazing gift, a G1 Triptychon. And who better to receive a G1 Triptychon from?
Mr. Triptychon, yeah.
Yes.
Have you seen a Triptychon up close before? I'm not.
That was my one and only time.
Is that right?
Yes.
Really?
Wow. Did he see the walking action? Did it walk?
No, we didn't get a chance to do that, but the base mode was incredible.
Yeah. Some really cool
And I have
features.
to admit, like, shipping to Iceland is ridiculous, and I will never get one shipped here. And bringing one back in luggage is almost impossible too. So I actually do wonder if it's just one of those toys that I'm actually never going to own, because I'm not seeking it out, and I'm not going to buy one because the expense and hassle of getting it here are just off the charts. So that was almost like the only experience of it I was ever going to have. So it was really nice to have him show me, and who else better to show me all the things that toy can do.
Well, you do own one, can I say? But
Yeah.
I don't really know how I'm ever going to get it here. Is the thing. Like, it took me 3 or 4 trips to get my Lego Batmobile here, and I had to open the box and bring different bags of Lego on every trip. So I really don't know.
When you take out the box and put it in dinosaur mode, it's no bigger than a lot of the
I was going to
like,
say
Super Link toys and that sort of stuff.
Maybe not.
Once
Yeah,
you've,
maybe so.
I think you've seen it
massive.
in spatchcock mode, haven't you? So
Yeah.
It looks a lot bigger than
Which is a great word that I heard Hoddert learn at the show. He asked
Spatchcock.
you, didn't he, actually?
He's going back to the Netherlands, filled with culture of Britain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spatchcock.
Spatchcock it.
Yeah.
Spatchcock it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that big. Yeah, in dinosaur mode, Liam's right. It's deep is the only thing, but actually dimensionally, I'm looking around the room.
The same size as Scorponok, because mine stood right next to Scorponok
Yeah.
in height terms. But
I don't bring back many Scorponok's either, mate, to be
No, but
perfectly frank.
Maz, I don't think it's that much bigger than like Galaxy Force Megatron, for example.
Yeah,
like in terms
that
of,
was ridiculous to bring back. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
maybe then it would be okay if I brought it. But man, this thing's box was lovely. G1 Triptychon box is
It's
it's
incredible.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
like Galaxy Force Megatron in the box. I would say probably is not far off a G1 Triptychon. Like honestly,
Yeah,
So-
probably. So maybe
bundle him
maybe.
up, put him in
Maybe.
a jumper, and
Might happen.
and wrap him up.
I won't see Raz till next year anyway. So
Just take him on as hand luggage, right? So you're
Raz,
on the plane.
take Raz on his
Sam,
hand luggage.
Yeah.
He's
don't
quite
take
slim,
Raz on.
to be fair.
Yeah, but don't take him on as hand luggage. Take Triptychon on as hand luggage, just literally by himself. Just carry him on and sit with him on the plane.
Sure.
That'd be all right.
I have heard that Transformers of great value and size have been transported this way before.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to do it. Okay, well that was TFNation. That was a good set of hauls. I think we all did pretty well. Maz, you did exceptional for a day.
I think so. Felt like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, see how next year goes. But yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this year. Always a pleasure to spend it with you guys. And, you know, with the whole kind of pre-show thing at this place and everything as well, it's just, I don't know, it's a real highlight of the year for me.
I just want to say one of the ththings people kept asking me, they kept making jokes about us always being together. They're like, "Oh, is it like contractually obliged, or you always like share a podcast?" And then it was only like afterwards when I thought about it, I was like, "No, it's just we're all like mates. It's just fun hanging around together.
We're all like mates. Not mates, like mates.
Yeah, it's like the like meat that they sell in the supermarkets.
I eat that so as a
Yeah,
vegetarian.
They're sort of like mates.
Yeah.
Is that what you're
but I was
saying?
like,
Suppose you
We're
call
all-
it friends.
yeah. Well, I think that's all it was. It's like people kept saying that. It's like, no, we're all just really good friends and just enjoy their company. You know, we all enjoy hanging out together.
Is that what you said, Maz?
Moving on, I would like to say a big congratulations to the Mapes and all the organisers of the show for
Yeah.
dealing with all the obstacles that they had to and putting on an amazing show like that and having this experience that we look forward to every year. I mean, how many of you went away saying it's been the best weekend of your year?
Me, yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah. Quite.
Thank you so
feasibly,
much to Billy, Dave, the Mapes, all those guys. They're amazing.
Just incredible.
Dave in
honestly.
shorts.
Yeah, I really do think that it's a very, very slickly organised and well-run convention. Considering they did have some challenges this year, which we won't go into, they know what they are, but really quite incredible. I mean, even again, as you said earlier, Maz, people like Chris McFeely stepping up to run a panel at no notice, and things like that to kind of cover. It just shows you the kind of loyalty and these guys inspire, and I think they do a brilliant job.
Yep,
but they're so accommodating of people, and what they achieve is incredible. Like the event they put on and how inclusive it is, and just everybody who enjoys it. Like I said, my friend came for the first time last year, and he came back this year with other friends because he was like, it was such an amazing experience, and you don't get that anywhere else.
Fair.
If I had one big regret of the weekend, actually, it's that I didn't see live the drag Starscream act. Did you see this online?
No,
yeah, the
I haven't
dancing.
seen it.
Yeah, this is from
fantastic.
They're on Twitter called Dr. Count Evil, and absolutely incredible act. I've seen videos of it, various videos and things, and I'm quite a big drag race fan anyway, so it never even occurred to me of like that world and Transformers meeting somehow, but it just looked really, really exceptional, very creative and talented. So I that would be my one kind of big regret, that I missed that. I think
it's
seeing
just
that live.
So much going on. There's so many people. There's so much to keep you occupied and into this bubble that there's no way you're ever going to see everything or do everything or meet everyone. Always going to be the way.
Yeah, 100%. It is such an enormous event now, and I know from talking to the mates that they've got some big stuff planned next year for the 40th. I won't share what that is, of course, because it's all in confidence, but there's at least 2, maybe 3 things that they told me are hopefully happening, that if they do, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be a weekend not to miss next year. And I think it's, just final thing I would say is that if you are still on the fence about it, just go. Honestly, like there are people that I met, that I had met previously, actually, people like Plastic Crack, for example, on Twitter and other socials. Such a lovely guy. He came to the Minicon in Manchester, and then this was his first proper TFNation. And I know he'd been umming and ahhing about, should I go, should I not?
I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and we were chatting in DMs, and I was saying to him, just go, just go. It changed, it's not like the Minicon. The Minicon's great, but this is a whole different thing.
This is on another level. And I think he was so pleased that he'd come just for for the day or whatever. And honestly, I would say if you're in doubt, if you're sat at home, if you're someone that's never really interacted with people in real life, from the kind of hobby space before Transformers, whatever it is, and you're sitting at home thinking, well, I like Transformers, but could I do that? Could I actually go and be part of this for real? Is that me? Just give it a go, honestly, even if it's just for the day, because I guarantee you the year after that you would be looking for a weekend ticket pretty much, because it's such a great event.
Just a Shia LaBeouf meme it, do it. Just do it.
Yeah. And go all in.
I think
my experience this year told me that go all in or stay home.
Right.
Because I think everyone who did the weekend this time, having done a one day before, didn't regret it. It's so much more of an overall experience and a shared experience with people who you just end up having affection for because you associate them with one of the happiest weekends of your year or your life. It's just how it goes.
And speaking of All In, the wrestling event I went to 2 weeks later was called All In for AEW Wrestling, and I bumped into people from TFN, so it kind of felt like a little bit of afterglow, after just random people who were at a panel and stuff like that. And I took a photo of the queue afterwards in the for the tube after the event, and one of the mates were like, "Oh, we're in that photo. We're in that queue." And I was like, "Oh, I took it when I was getting in an Uber. Goodbye, suckers." It's a massive queue of people.
Great stuff. Okay, well, so before we wrap up, we've got some bits to close off the episode. Maz, I think, as ever, we've got a bit of a Patreon, don't we?
Yes, we do have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/Triple Takeover, with all sorts of perks, from a Discord community that you can join and hang out with. And at TFNation, these guys were organizing meetups that they then actually met up And then we're still talking on Discord at TFNation. So it's a community within a community. Definitely recommend it. You can get you can get access to episodes early. You can get a shout out on the show. And I did that shout out live on stage. It was a mess, but nobody knows because I had the list. You can also get exclusive weekly content like mini series where we focus on a very, very niche part of the hobby, or mini-sodes. At the moment, we're running through all the 1987 sublines that we didn't get time to give a spotlight to in the main episode. And also, you get to ask a question. And today, we're actually going to do 2 questions because one of them's really, really quick. So, first question is from Matthew Deadman, and it's about YouTube gaming. And he says, have any of you thought about recording yourself playing any of the Transformers games and releasing them on YouTube? I know I would love to see you play Armada and WFC/FOC. The answer for me is that's a no. I've never played any of the games.
I've played them all.
Shocker. Do you need to ask me?
No. But you do YouTube, so it might be very funny to watch you play the games and then record it.
That would be funny. I have no idea how I would even go on about that. Is it on a computer? What do you do with it?
Sixo on Twitch. It's like the one platform he's not on yet.
I think even I'd subscribe just to see the comedy of him. Like,
I would.
trying to give it a go.
Yes.
But yeah. I've played them all, and we should do an episode on them at some point. I'd like to.
Oh boy, can't wait. Okay. Sounds good.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that question, Matthew Deadman. And another question we have from Joshules is, what scene from media, comics, cartoons, or films would you most like to recreate in photography? Or if you have done already, what was your favorite?
That's a tough one.
I really want to recreate, the start of Robotech and Macross, where you see the jet coming up out of like the onto the landing pad, but it's coming like an elevator. It's that stuff. I always want to recreate that stuff.
Is that from the Do You Remember Love movie?
No, from the cartoon Robotech.
Okay, well, this was a cartoon movie.
Yes, but it wasn't called Robotech, was it? That was the TV series Robotech.
I mean, for what we know of it, you could technically recreate it and tell us you've recreated it, and we wouldn't know anyway. So. But
like you say, that Do You Remember Love was a movie.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say I haven't seen Robotech in. I have no idea how many years.
Yeah, but it's that kind
years.
Of carrier deck, things coming up.
100% can relate to that.
Top Gun as well is like another one, like something landing on a carrier deck.
The image is stirring something there in the old brain, but that's cool. I think for me, I mean, the obvious answer is Transformers the movie, isn't it? Just in terms of photo homages, Wurzel homages, I haven't forgotten that. The level of possibilities is second to none. So just everything from Lookout Mountain, with Hot Rod, and I think because so many of the toys are geared around doing that as well, it sort of lends itself to it. There's so many of the Masterpiece toys that have little accessories of things that kind of recreate those moments, or and now they're doing stuff like Dead Ironhide and things like that as well. I mean, it's just a shoe-in for it, really, isn't it? So that's the obvious one, I would say, like the Optimus Megatron fight. I think beyond that, though, actually, some of my favorites have been Sherman Dam from More Than Meets the Eye. That's a fun one to do, for sure.
I think, movie for me as well. The 2 scenes I'd love to recreate with backgrounds, because I've kind of recreated the poses, but I want to recreate the backgrounds, is the Cyclonus and Scourge reformat, especially the Cyclonus one, with Cyclonus in the foreground and another one in the background doing his like muscle flex, but having it look that good on a toy that deserves it. And also the Rodimus Prime running at the end of the movie with all the neon and that kind of background. I would love to recreate. The one I have recreated that I enjoyed the most was at the request of James Roberts. I asked him what he would like me to try, and it was Cyclonus and Whirl from issue 12 of More Than Meets the Eye, standing back to back, surrounded by dead Decepticons.
That was a good one.
That was my favorite recreation.
Well, and not to mention that you it's not technically a recreation, it's a creation, but you got a panel in the comic, didn't you? So
someone else could recreate my creation. Which would be ace. Or I could recreate it with different figures.
That's a pre-creation.
Yeah, I'll take that too. That's some great credit. I'll take that too. Okay, so thank you for those questions. We've still got plenty more and room for more. And another perk of our Patreon is the shout out. So having gotten it kind of wrong on stage and nobody noticed, but they still applauded. And also the sheer hassle I have with Google Sheets every TFNation to try to get this bloody thing on my phone. We've had a lot of people sign up since, and this will be the most up-to-date shout-out we've done since episode 61, which was only like a couple of weeks ago, but we did say that one was from about a month before the episode goes out, so it's not going to be particularly up-to-date. So a big thank you to our most current list of butlers and GBCs. Thank you, Nick, Danny Roberts, Andy Preston, Chris Spiderfather, Adam Shoemaker, Matt, Bad Saturday, Justin Massaro, Dave Dalrymple, Gio Kaiser, Lucifer, John Pearl, Troy of Anthony Cast, Captain R.A., Phil G, Rodstorm, Laserbeak, Puma the Hunter, Peter Hampson, Shenry, Chris Norris, Jesse Moreno, Nexus, Aaron Swoboda, Billy Gator, Andy Gold, Cold School, Simon Elvin, Joshua's Cracktastic Plastic, Downvastator, Jeffrey Freak, Inbound Lee, not Andy, John Wood, Kyler Wilmoth, Tim Banerjee, Ben Lewis, Shinsei, Lucas Henkel, Mollis Koenig, Malcolm Hobbs, CNC, Rick 56, Mythic Gears, Zach Lawson, Jason Murray, David Shepard, The Steam, Quick Mix, Josh Bell, Ash Polk, Zindios, Christian Hyatt, Mark Alley, Graham Moffat, Connor C, Buck Carota, Eric Hoyt, Bobby P, Mike Loicono, Niar Bat, Tyler Husky, Chris Rodwell, Steve Redmond, Jim Kinsey, Sean T. Siegel, James Pascoe, Ghost Prime, Jickle, MK Tronic, Holdert, Walter, see, I told you to get it right, Charlie Chappelle, June Marigold, Jonathan Fossilgic Howard, Alexis Taylor, Windows 6K, Tyler Dickinson, Jeremy Woodall, Ross, Jetfire James, Dog Lunch UK. Hey, didn't we meet Dog Lunch UK at TFNation?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we totally met Dog Lunch UK at TFNation.
You gave me the Ghostbuster.
That's it.
Give me the Ghostbuster.
Anyway, Michael Kegel, Dougotron /Big Doug made up name Phil Duggan. Squid Catfish, Alien Nunes, Robert R, Heinrad 80, Caldas, Michael Brandt, Cam Lee, Miguel Gonzalez, Spider Bob, James Hooks, Badr Mahaffey, Collecticon, Chuck Goldbolt, Alec Trevelyan 2022, Riley Lentz, Emperor Galvatron, Matthew Deadman, Spencer Butler, Alan Johnson, Anthony Baker, Adam Brady, James Turnham, Simon, The Transformer Closet, EMH Richard, Robin Hunt, RHA, Logan, Jetfire Prime 760, James Clark, Frank Colosimo, Valkisas, Atlas, Dave Beckett, Jeremy Canseco, Ben Erickson, Tony Hayward, Evil Plop Disease.
I said when he put in the thread, I can't wait for us to say that. There we are.
Juan Carpintero, Clark Kent Gaming, Michael Gaxiola, Freedom is the Right, DJ Convoy, Harrison Barber, John Cole Dalton, Star Saber Fan 37, Kaz H, Private Random, Rob Franklin, Protein, Digbysaurus, Anthony Fortunato, John R, and the Mapes Brothers, who you might recognise. You might recognise John R too if you were at TFNation. Thank you. Wow. What a list.
Ooh.
Amazing.
Yeah,
we did reveal a special.
Yeah, it's just for the patrons.
We'll leave it there. I'm not going to say anything now. No. There, what a list. Amazing. We also have a sponsor for the evening. That is tfsource.com. Do check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs.
And we do have a Redbubble. And, I'm not going to read somebody's name out this time, but I'll get out the old file of facts because many people asked what happened to the file of facts. So I'll dig that out for next time. Go through some things.
One of the funniest bits for me at TFNation was you repeatedly coming up to us after the panel going, loads of people have said they think that the name thing is really funny, as if like
what do you mean?
It was proof of something.
I still don't understand why it's funny, just reading out people's names and where they're from. I don't get what you're talking about. I'm so sorry to those listeners of ours who have written in.
Sorry, Denzel.
If you're listening to this
from Washington,
next TFNation, please don't encourage Liam and tell him this stuff's funny. Honestly, it just emboldens him.
Aren't you glad you said all those nice things about us now, Dudley from Dudley? But so if you want to be like Dudley, you can go to revel.com /people/triple takeover /explore.
Explore.
Explore.
Yeah. Cool. And we also have social media stuff. So you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that is @triple_takeover, all one word on Facebook, and @triple_takeover on Twitter /X or whatever it's called next week, and Instagram. And we're on YouTube. Lads, where can they find you?
I am at TFsquareone on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now Blue Sky.
I'm at Sixo on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Blue Sky, Threads, Mastodon, I guess. Not really. Loads of other places.
He's still legit saying Mastodon.
Mastodon. Is that all right?
Mastodon.
What's the difference?
One's correct and one isn't.
Okay.
That was almost as long as your Patreon shout out. Him going through his social media presence.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm at Toybox Soapbox. Anyway, there's an
Well, that's going to do it for another year. So if you did come and watch us at TFNation, thank you so much for being at our panel. We really, truly do appreciate it. If you weren't able to make it this year, do come and join us next year, if indeed geography and expenses and all of those other things allow you to. And if you can't, well, we appreciate you tuning in from home. So until next time, have a good one.
And there I was on the floor, and I got a ram horn, which was amazing. And of course, he's got this big, massive hole. Just plugged him in there, and it looks fantastic because it's the color of bum juice. Like, it was all really cheap, really, really rough stuff, and go all in.
Extra peg on the bottom.
Yes, not a day goes by that I don't play with this thing, and I've had my fun with it now. I'm so surprised. So that made me really happy.
Extra peg on the bottom.